Yeah, kids these days, with their long hair. You can't even tell the boils from the ghouls. And when they do want a cut, they go to one of those fancy salons, like Jose Slaybear or the Dead Sassoon. It's enough to make you terror your hair out. I guess that towel was a little too hot. Still, I think it's a good look for you. Once it's grown out, I'm sure you'll love it. Which brings to mind the young men in tonight's tale. They're about to try a new scare style as well, in a delightful little dye job I call Doctor of Horror.
Callahan's mortuary has a 40-year tradition of service to uphold. Peace of mind and serenity. A stolen body would be a scandal. It would destroy this fine institution. Do you understand that?
Oh, yes, sir. Count on us, sir.
No, I can't. You're useless, low-life shitheads. If there's so much as a coffin handle missing in the morning, you are fired.
Son of a bitch, who do you think you're talking to? Put his stupid ass on a slab.
Richard, please try to remember. We need this shit.
Okay, Charlie, don't you have any ambition? What we need, my friend, is a break.
When do we get to eat? Anything about
Hey. Hey! Jesus Christ. Hey, where you going? Where are you going? You're under arrest.
You're not the police.
No, but we can darn sure hold you till the real police get here.
Let's go, old man.
I can't believe this. We caught a body snatch.
Shut up.
How much do you boys make?
Excuse me?
How much?
Not enough.
That's what I thought! Now I will pay you $500 if you will help me steal this corpse!
$500 each.
You know, I thought we were going to a hospital or something.
Yeah, right, Charlie.
Hey, he said he was a surgeon, didn't he?
Well, the man obviously works out of the home.
I'm not allowed in hospitals anymore.
Oh, boy. Which way?
Oh, here. The wine cellar.
Good, I could use a drink. Geez, Doc, what stinks?
Oh, never mind that now. Here we are.
Come on, let's go, let's go.
So, just what are you gonna do to her, Doc?
Well, that, my boy, is beyond your imagination. Oh, there's nothing perverted about it, if that's what you're worried about. I'm searching for her soul.
Oh, shit.
Dude, he didn't do nothing yet.
Man, oh, man.
I'm convinced that the soul exists in a microscopic gland that's located somewhere along the spine. It is the last thing to die, releasing the life force days after conventional death.
What does the gland look like?
I haven't seen it yet. I've dissected dozens of corpses, and like some elusive prey, It vanishes. Just when I think I have it in my sights.
When you find it, what are you gonna do with it?
Oh, not that much. Just play God.
Oh, I feel sick.
Well, get over it, man, because this shit is amazing.
If I can locate the soul, I can unlock the deepest secrets of the human condition. Why is one man a saint and another a monster? And can I change a monster into a saint by manipulating his essential metaphysical substance?
That's trippy, Doc. Is that it there?
No. It will be incandescent. Perhaps only a pinpoint of light. Even a skilled surgeon would miss it unless he believed it was there. Can it be that ethereal? Can it shift and move with a will of its own? Will it elude me forever?
Oh, God. Oh, dear God.
So, the search continues. You still want that drink?
Sure.
Got some work for you here. It'll need another $500.
Oh.
Well, normally I could dispose of them when it suits me, but this freezer's been acting up. It's 40 years old.
Well, this is gonna cost you a hell of a lot more than $500.
Oh. All right, Richard, how much?
Well, a lot more. Well, 600.
Ha! Done. All right. There's an old well not far from here. It's ideal for disposing of things.
Okay. Come on, we're gonna need some tarp and some rope. Come on, come on.
He's trying to steal their souls. How can the dead rest if they don't have their souls? Are you kidding me?
Dude, Dr. Orloff's got an excuse for talking that shit. He's nuts. You're seriously stupid, but the last time I checked, you were sane.
Don't you believe in souls, Richard? Don't you believe in anything?
Yeah, I believe I got $1,000 right here, baby. Mwah! More money I've ever seen in my life.
They're gonna be lost forever. No way home.
Oh, good Lord. Yeah, that's plenty deep. Charlie, hoist up one of them suckers. I'll be right there. Charlie. 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 Hoist.
We are working here, okay?
Freak out on your own time.
Jesus.
You know, I still don't feel good about this.
Yeah, well, I do, Charlie. Just gotta keep our story straight, okay? We got a little drunk, we fell asleep. So it's exactly what that prick would expect us to do anyway. We are off the hook, baby. Yes, we are. Off the hook. Yes, we are.
God damn it, get up, you idiots! Get up! Where is she?
Who?
Mrs. Myers.
Oh, yeah. Oh, sir, I don't know. We were patrolling the halls all night.
You're lying.
No, sir.
What's this? Drunk. You're drunk, and I'm going to lose a 40-year business because of it. You're fired. Get out of here now.
We're fired, huh?
You're fired.
Fine, we're fired. You know what? We didn't want your shit job anyway.
How'd you get that mud on your boots? How'd you get that tear in your jeans?
Charlie, let's go.
What have you two been up to?
Charlie, let's go.
You took her, didn't you? I'm going to the police. You stay right here. I'm going to the police.
Damn.
Sir. Sir? Sir, I just want to explain one thing, okay? 1 second. Sir. Sir, could you stop running, please, sir? Sir, please don't go for the cops, sir. Can I just say one thing? Sir, please. Hello? Sir. Oh, sir. 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 Stop it. Get off me. Get off me. You are killing him. What do you think I'm trying to do? Sir.
Listen. Do you want to go to jail for murder? Huh? Is that what you want? Oh, thank God. He's still alive. Okay, all right, look. Let's get him to Dr. Orloff, okay? All right?
Yeah.
He can take care of him.
Yeah, Dr. Orloff take care of him real good.
This wasn't very smart of you, Richard.
You know what, Doc? I really don't need another lecture right now.
I don't suppose you do. All right, you two wait in the hallway. I'll have more work for you.
Yes, sir.
I can't do this, Richard. I quit.
What, security watchman? I think we already handed in our resignation.
You know good and well what I'm talking about. I'm talking about working for that doctor.
Why? Why would you want to quit? We got a good thing going.
Because it's wrong.
It's wrong?
Yeah, it's wrong.
Charlie, we're carting around dead people. I don't think they care.
Their souls care, Richard.
Oh, God, would you please change the tape? Look, bud, I'm real sorry if you're having problems with our career move, but you'll quit when I tell you you can quit. Okay?
Boys! Come in here, hurry!
All my years of searching, and I finally found it. The soul gland. And the moment I went to extract it, it disappeared.
Then this shit heal up and dies on you, huh? Well, that's just plain rude.
I don't fully understand why I found it now. But I did.
Oh, I know why you found it. He was alive when you started to cut him up. You thought that you could get the soul gland out of dead people. But by then, it's already disappeared. See, souls don't just hang around. No, you were wrong about that. They go on to their just reward. That is, unless you steal them.
Of course. You're absolutely right, Charlie. Positively brilliant.
You know, you shouldn't steal souls, Doctor.
It's all in the name of science, Charlie.
You know, Doc, I think Charlie's right. I mean, about being wrong, doing what we're doing here. Charlie, it's all right. Just go way down in the truck. I want to try to explain to him what I mean. Go ahead. I'll be right there. We got a Charlie problem here, Doc.
Well, he's simple-minded and good-hearted, and that is a dangerous combination.
Yeah, well, it's gonna get us busted.
Just to ease his conscience, he must have a vigorous soul.
You want to find out? Yeah, I thought you might like that idea. I tell you, this is a pretty interesting gig you got here, Doc. How long do you have to go to school before you can start, you know, cutting things up and stuff?
Ah, career planning.
Maybe. Told you I was ambitious. Say ah.
Okay, all right. That's it. I'm finished.
Charlie. Dude, listen. I'm real sorry I went off on you like that before. Anyway, you want to quit working for Dr. Orloff, you go right ahead and quit. I've already quit. You want a drink? Have a drink.
That's not all I'm gonna do. I'm going to the cops. I'm gonna turn myself in. There is no way that I'm gonna live with this on my conscience.
Charlie. I knew you were gonna do something stupid like that. That's why you're drinking ether.
Whew. Still alive, just like you wanted.
You gonna cut him up?
Just the usual incision. Oh, don't be so disappointed. Once I remove the gland, you can cut to your heart's content. Extraordinary. The better the soul, the stronger the light. I must preserve this immediately.
Doc?
You do what you want. You're my assistant now.
Here we go, Charlie. Now you get to hang out with all those lost souls you were worried about.
Hello, Richard.
Hey. Hey, Doc. Champagne's on me. Guess what we're celebrating?
What are we celebrating?
My new pay raise.
Oh, Richard. You're not getting a raise.
Oh, yes, I am. All the deliveries I've been making, all the souls you've been collecting, and I've been so quiet about it. So far.
Very unappreciated right now, Doc. Loser. Yeah.
What did you call me?
You're gonna kill me, and then you're gonna get appreciation. Yeah.
What the hell was that?
What have you done with my soul? Pull back the skin and cut through to the muscle. Right, Doctor?
Charlie, no! Charlie, what are you doing, man? Come on!
Not much. I'm just going to play God. I'm gonna steal your soul, Richard.
No! Charlie, come on! You don't want to hurt me. Come on, you're good.
On the contrary, Richard. I was good. You stole my soul, remember?
Charlie, no! Charlie, no!
That Charlie? And you thought he was mixed up before. As a matter of fact, I just got a card from Charlie. He went on to open a chain of private clubs for dismembers only. Oh, and Richard went into medicine, specializing in intensive scare. So, I've got a free chair. How about a little trim? I promise I won't take off too much. Shave and a haircut, 2 bits. Oh, hello, creeps. It's your old pal, the Big Scarehuna, enjoying a little surf and sand. Hey, babe, want me to rub a little suntan lotion on you? Ooh. Boy, do I love the beach. Hey, 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 you! Watch it!
Get a tan!
Boy, I hate getting sand kicked in my face. I'm not your average 98-pound weakling, you know. For one thing, I don't weigh that much. I tell you, kiddies, I'm going to get that guy. Which brings to mind the 2 men in tonight's terror tale. They're on a little shriek and destroy mission of their own. In a nasty undertaking I call Comes the Dawn.
bottle of schnapps. And 2 glasses.
A little late in the season for a vacation getaway, isn't it, boys?
Let's see. I'm in Butthole, Alaska. It's colder than a witch's left one out there. No one else around. That's very astute, bartender. Now, I've a Sherlock Holmes moment for you. Your favorite blender speed is Puree?
You get the hell out of here.
You'll have to forgive the sergeant, my dear. He just got off a very long flight, and he's not a big fan of flying.
That don't mean he's gotta be nasty.
No, it doesn't. I apologize. But maybe you can help us. You see, we're looking for a very special kind of hunting guide. Somebody who's not overly concerned with limit laws or the endangered species list.
Sounds like you be talking about my ex, Jerry Drumbeater. Used to be game warden around here. Till the sheriff caught Jerry fishing with dynamite.
Dynamite? Well, it sounds like Jerry's our man.
Yeah, sure does. Except for one little problem.
And that is?
I turned Jerry in myself. I don't take kindly to poachers. Yeah, give me the sheriff. What the hell do you want?
Schnapps. Please.
I'm sorry, but I'm gonna have to ask you this again. Are you sure you're Jerry Drumbeater?
I'm sure.
Good. So what do you say? You help us bag one good-sized grizzly, and we will pay you the generous sum of $100 cash money.
I don't do that anymore.
Sure we can't convince you otherwise? Be a hell of a lot more exciting than watching static on TV.
Sergeant. Enough of this. On your feet, soldier. That's a direct order from your commanding officer, retired Colonel Parker Thomas, 477th Infantry, Desert Star. Doesn't that medal mean anything to you? That's the Purple Heart. You should display it proudly.
It's not something that I'm proud of, Colonel. I was wounded. In a firefight, our APC was hit by mortars. We were 2 clicks outside of the
city of Jalabash. I know because I was there. 12 dead, 22 casualties. It's nothing to be ashamed of. Those Iraqi bastards got us with our pants down. But we showed them who was boss. We shelled the shit out of them. I know because I gave the order.
You did?
That's an affirmative, soldier.
The colonel here saved your ass. It's payback time, soldier. Now, what are you gonna do about it?
Corporal Drumbeater reporting for duty as ordered. Sir.
Outstanding, soldier. Now let's bag ourselves a bear.
Is this where we're going?
It's been abandoned for years, but the bears love it.
Perfect place for a winter hibernation.
Very good, Colonel.
Great. Indoor hunting with Grandpa and his new girlfriend. What are you doing now?
Would you prefer to work in the dark?
What is this place anyway?
It used to be a government weather station. Get in.
service station. Some sort of covert Cold War military base, more like.
The kids took over this place. Like Uncle Sam moved out. Had their own playhouse. And then some kids started to disappear. Parents thought it was too dangerous to leave as is. So they had the whole place boarded up.
Good. If you can't protect your own children, who can you protect?
Spoken like a true leader.
Thank you.
Here.
What do you got?
Grizzly. From the look of him, about 6 hours old.
Grizzly. What do you say we get some bear, huh?
She finds some tracks, that's it?
Can it, Sergeant? Now, here's the plan. While you and Miss Drumbeater here set the traps, I'll go out and assess the perimeter for any sign of live target. I find something, I'll radio my location, and await your arrival. Any questions?
No, Colonel.
Good.
Wait a minute. Where are you going?
Aren't you gonna help us here?
I'm in charge here, Sergeant. And though you may think of my advanced scout as an attempt to avoid strenuous labor, I choose to see it as the culmination of 20 years of military protocol and training. Now, partnership or not, somebody always has to lead. And in this man's army, that's me, Sergeant. Now, you just set the traps.
Jerky. Bears love it. And teriyaki is their favorite. You need some help over there?
Give it all that sexy body can give, honey.
You know, Burroughs, you don't have to try so hard. I'm all yours if you want me.
What about your friend, the bartender?
I like men too. Burroughs, you know, it's all meat. Some you eat, and some you kiss.
Oh, the lesbian thing I can understand. It's you I can't figure. I mean, how can you be with a woman with such a rotten mouth?
That's what made the relationship possible.
Kidding, right?
What's the matter? You find me a little too intense? Too bad. I had high hopes for you.
I thought you had high hopes for the Colonel. I mean, you wouldn't be trying to play us against each other, would you?
Why would I do that? Now tell me about this little hunting expedition. I get the feeling it's not for pleasure. You're hunting endangered species, grizzlies and brown bears.
Why would we be doing that?
A gallbladder alone is worth about $64,000.
$64,000 for one organ?
How much did the Colonel tell you they were worth? Isn't it a 50-50 split?
70-30. He's the one with all the connections.
But what if the Colonel wasn't around? What if he died? Accidentally.
Life goes on, I guess. It's a seller's market.
Sure is. Poaching is a very dangerous job.
So I hear. Shit happens.
I guess if something like that happened to the Colonel, you'd have to find a new partner. A 50-50 partner.
Yeah.
I'm ready to try again. Let me show you.
What do you think, Colonel?
I think we'll have 2 dead bitches in this compound pretty soon. Somebody already beat us to the first one. But then again, I think you already knew that too, didn't you, miss? What's your game, lady?
Sorry, drumbeater. But you don't fix what's not broken. Besides, Colonel here, he paints the bills. So you better tell us what's up. Or I'm gonna have to blow your brains out.
You dumb son of a bitch.
What the hell was that? You got the key?
Sure.
You just saved ourselves $100. Damn, just killed the generator. Here. Take the lead. Go on. Go.
How'd you get back inside?
One of these tunnels is open-ended.
Did you hear that?
Check it out.
What the hell are they?
Let's just get out of here.
Hello, mister. Me and my friends are lost. Can you help us?
Where did you come from? Huh? Whoa. Whoa, you're freezing. Feel her.
I don't get it. Something's wrong. Her body temperature's way too low. She'd have to be.
Why?
Dead.
Hey, where are you going?
At ease.
Drumbeater?
At one point in my life, I hated this town and everything it stood for. But now, they need me as much as I need them. It started with the children, and after that, it spread pretty quickly to everyone but me.
You want her, she's all yours.
I don't want her.
Corporal, I order you to...
No more orders, Colonel! It was your order that led to the shouting of Jalabash!
Yes.
I saved your life. Do you owe me?
Oh, yes, I owe you. I owe you for this. Look! You shelled the enemy that day at Jalabash. You shelled your own man! I live among the undead because of you. You destroyed my life. Now, I will destroy yours. Oh, outcasts. But I cannot even join these vampires, even if I wanted to, because my blood is poison to them. But yours is not.
I didn't have anything to do with Jalabash. It was the Colonel.
I offered you a chance, so now you serve me too.
Yes. Kill her. Someone must be sacrificed in any battle. It's a military fact. And in this army, that person is you, Colonel.
Right? Don't let him get away.
You can't run! The night belongs to us!
Bastards! Blood-sucking bastards! Ah! Ah! Own the night, do ya? Well, I own the day. When the sun comes up, you will fry. God. 10 a.m. Still dark out. Gary's mine! It's gonna take a lot more than a lesbian vampire biker whore to ruin my day.
Don't be afraid. It's only me.
Where's the sun?
In Alaska, the sun isn't coming up for another 2 months.
The Colonel should be a little more careful who he picks a fight with. Still, I think he'll get used to being hunted for a change once he gets the fang of it. And if it doesn't work out, he can re-enlist in the Marine Corps. As for me, kiddies, I decided to get even with that bully by showing off some of my surfing prowess. I may not be able to hang 10, but I can sure hang 1.
The night air clung to the streets like a damp shroud, carrying with it the smell of wet asphalt and the faint metallic tang of fear. In the shadow of the decrepit hospital, the flickering neon sign sputtered as though it were gasping for life, casting sickly hues of green and red across the cracked sidewalks. No one dared walk these streets after dark, for tales of a doctor whose experiments defied both ethics and sanity were whispered in hushed tones among the city's underworld. He was known only as Dr. Horace Vanell, a man whose charm could disarm, whose intelligence commanded respect, and whose cruelty left a legacy that lingered like a foul perfume. It was on this night that a young reporter named Samuel Crane ventured into the city's forgotten district, armed with nothing but a notebook, a camera, and a thirst for the story that would define his career. Samuel had always been drawn to the macabre, the hidden, the things people whispered about but never dared investigate. When he heard the rumors of Dr. Vanell, of patients who entered his care only to vanish without a trace, he felt a thrill course through him. He imagined himself breaking the story wide open, exposing the monster hiding behind the doctor's white coat. Samuel's footsteps echoed against the empty streets as he approached the hospital's rusted gates. The building loomed over him, its windows darkened and grimy, like eyes that had seen too much and had long since stopped caring. He hesitated at the entrance, listening to the groan of hinges and the distant scuttling of rats. There was a sense of anticipation in the air, a quiet, almost expectant pause, as though the very city itself was holding its breath. Finally, with a deep breath, he pushed the gate open. It creaked ominously, protesting his intrusion, but he pressed forward, his camera strap digging into his shoulder. Inside, the hospital was a labyrinth of peeling wallpaper and flickering fluorescent lights. The air was thick with the smell of antiseptic mixed with decay, a contradiction that made Samuel's stomach churn. He moved cautiously, snapping pictures of the peeling corridors and the abandoned wheelchairs. Each photograph seemed to capture a hint of movement in the shadows, though he convinced himself it was only a trick of the light. Still, the feeling of being watched gnawed at him relentlessly. He found the reception desk deserted, the papers scattered like fallen leaves across the cracked linoleum. The hospital had been officially shut down years ago, but stories claimed that Dr. Vanell had remained, continuing his work in secret, obsessed with perfecting his monstrous creations. Samuel's heart raced as he climbed the staircase to the second floor, the steps groaning under his weight, echoing into the hollow emptiness. His footsteps disturbed the silence, each sound amplifying his awareness of the unseen eyes that seemed to track his progress. At the end of the hallway, he found a door slightly ajar. From within came a low, rhythmic hum, punctuated by the occasional metallic clink. Samuel approached, every instinct screaming for him to turn back, but curiosity drove him forward. He pushed the door open gently, peering into the room. It was a laboratory, filled with a strange amalgamation of medical equipment and arcane devices that seemed both futuristic and grotesquely antiquated. Glass jars lined the shelves, containing specimens suspended in a yellowish fluid, their shapes ambiguous yet disturbingly human. The room smelled faintly of chemicals and something else, something far more organic and unsettling. And there, at the center of it all, was Dr. Horace Vanell. He was tall, with an elegance that belied his gruesome work. His coat was pristine, his hair slicked back, and his eyes gleamed with a manic intensity. He hummed softly to himself as he adjusted dials on a machine that Samuel could not begin to comprehend. The doctor didn't notice him at first, absorbed in the delicate operation before him. Samuel's camera clicked softly, breaking the spell. Vanell's head snapped up, and for a moment Samuel thought he saw recognition, almost amusement, in the doctor's gaze. "Well, well," Vanell said, his voice smooth, melodic, and dripping with menace. "I've been expecting someone, or perhaps I've merely hoped." He stepped closer, each movement precise, almost predatory. "Curiosity is a dangerous thing, Mr. Crane," Samuel replied, his voice surprisingly steady despite the pounding of his heart. "Samuel Crane. I've come to investigate." Vanell's lips curled into a smile that didn't reach his eyes. "Investigate? Yes. We shall see what that entails." He gestured toward the machines. "Do you see what I do here, Mr. Crane? I am a pioneer, a visionary, And yet no one understands the beauty of my work. The horror, yes, but the beauty, that is reserved for those who dare look beyond the veil. Samuel's mind raced, trying to process the jumble of horror and brilliance that the man before him represented. Vanel moved with the precision of a surgeon, adjusting instruments, writing in a notebook with meticulous care. Samuel noticed a figure lying on a table, draped in a sheet, and his stomach tightened. The outline of the body beneath the cloth was unnaturally rigid, almost mechanical, as if life itself had been tampered with and then withheld. What is that?" Samuel asked, unable to contain his curiosity. Vanel's eyes gleamed. "A subject," he said simply. "A willing participant in the transcendence of human limitation. Many would call it grotesque. I call it evolution. Medicine for the future, horror for the present. One cannot exist without the other." Samuel's camera shutter clicked again, and this time Vanel did not smile. Instead, a shadow flickered across his face. Something sharp, dangerous, alive. "You are bold," the doctor said, stepping closer, "or perhaps foolish. Curiosity often comes at a price, Mr. Crane. Are you prepared to pay it?" Before Samuel could answer, the lights flickered violently, and the hum of the machines rose to a deafening pitch. The jars on the shelves vibrated, their contents swaying in unison. Samuel felt a chill as if the room itself had taken a breath and was holding it. Vanel's expression was unreadable, a mask of calm that hid a storm beneath. Then, almost casually, he reached for a lever beside the table. The machine whirred to life, spitting sparks and steam, and Samuel felt the first tendrils of fear curl around his mind. What was happening to the subject on the table? What was Vanel about to unleash? And more importantly, would he let Samuel leave to tell the tale? The doctor's eyes met his, unblinking, calculating. "Do you want to see the culmination of years of study?" he asked, his voice now a whisper that cut through the chaos like a scalpel. "Or do you wish to remain a spectator, forever wondering what could have been?" Samuel swallowed hard, the weight of the decision pressing down on him. His instincts screamed to flee, to abandon the story and run into the night, but the pull of the unknown was irresistible. He nodded slowly, unable to speak, as Vanel's hands danced across the controls with practiced precision. The machine surged, lights flashing, and the figure on the table convulsed unnaturally, caught between agony and transformation. Samuel's eyes widened in horror and fascination, the camera falling forgotten at his feet. In that instant, he realized he was witnessing something that defied explanation, something that would haunt him for the rest of his life. The doctor's laughter echoed in the chamber, low and triumphant, as the boundary between life and death, horror and brilliance, blurred into an unholy symphony. And then, as suddenly as it began, the room fell silent. The figure on the table lay still, eerily serene, and Vanel turned to Samuel with a calm that was almost unbearable. "Welcome, Mr. Crane," he said, "to the edge of human understanding." Samuel Crane's mind was a tumult of fear, curiosity, and an almost perverse thrill. He couldn't tear his eyes from the table where the subject had lain, now still, yet somehow transformed, the lines of the body unnaturally perfect, as if Vanel had imposed an unnatural order upon chaos. The fluorescent lights overhead flickered, casting twisted shadows that crawled across the walls like living things. Samuel swallowed hard, his voice caught somewhere between awe and dread. What did you do to him?" he finally whispered, barely audible over the hum of the residual machinery. He could feel the sweat beading on his forehead, slicking his hair to his scalp. Vanel's smile was slow, deliberate, and almost hypnotic. "I merely guided him," he said, "guided him through the inevitable evolution of his existence. Some call it horror. I call it progress. Humanity has always feared its own potential, Samuel. I do not." He stepped closer, the shadows of his tall frame stretching across the room, mingling with the grotesque reflections of glass jars lining the walls. "What you see here is a bridge between what man is and what man could be, should he dare embrace the unknown." Samuel's eyes flicked toward the machine, still humming, tubes and wires writhing like serpents. The figure on the table, It was almost impossible to describe. Its skin shimmered faintly, taut and strange, like the surface of a pond at midnight. It was alive, yet different. Not human in any way Samuel had known before. A low, metallic pulse seemed to emanate from its chest, a rhythmic sound that both fascinated and terrified him. It's alive," he asked, voice trembling. Vanel chuckled softly, a sound that resonated somewhere between amusement and menace. "Alive? Of course. More alive than you or I, perhaps. It is unbound by limitations, free from the frailty that binds the ordinary human form. You, Samuel, are witnessing the future, and yet many would not survive even a fraction of what I endured to achieve this vision." He gestured expansively toward the jars. "These are but the beginning. A gallery of attempts, each more daring than the last, each stepping closer to perfection. Horror, yes, but necessary horror." Samuel felt a shiver run down his spine, a cocktail of fear and fascination that made his stomach twist. "And you're telling me all of this just because you wanted to?" His words sounded weak to his own ears, but he could not help asking. He wanted, desperately, to understand the mind behind such darkness. Vanel's eyes gleamed with what Samuel could only describe as predatory intelligence. "Not because I wanted to, Samuel, because it must be done. Humanity stagnates, fears, and hides behind its fragile morality. He paused, placing a gloved hand delicately on the table near the transformed subject. "I transcend morality to see what lies beyond. Only the brave, or the foolish, dare to watch." He let the word foolish linger, a soft threat, almost intimate in its delivery. Samuel's hands shook, and he instinctively reached for his camera, but something held him back. The device seemed trivial now, almost irrelevant in the face of what he was witnessing. He was no longer a reporter, he was a witness, and perhaps, he feared, a participant in something that could consume him entirely. "What happens now?" he asked cautiously, not wanting to seem weak, yet unable to mask the tremor in his voice. Vanel's grin widened, revealing teeth that gleamed unnaturally white in the harsh light. "Now, we continue," he said. "Now, you see the full scope of what one can achieve when unshackled by fear." He moved to a cabinet in the corner, opening it to reveal a collection of surgical instruments, some ordinary, others bizarrely modified. Each was labeled meticulously in Vanel's precise handwriting, and Samuel noted with a mixture of horror and fascination the variety of metals, shapes, and mechanisms that seemed designed for purposes beyond normal medicine. "And this," Vanel said, lifting a long, curved instrument with a wicked gleam, "is for refinement, precision, to perfect the line between life and what lies beyond. Observe closely, Samuel. There is a rhythm, a pattern, a logic to horror that most humans fail to perceive. And yet, in my hands, it becomes art." He adjusted a dial on the machine, and the figure on the table shifted slightly, almost imperceptibly, its new form responding to Vanel's manipulations as though guided by invisible strings. Samuel felt a wave of nausea, the mixture of chemicals, fear, and unnameable horror overwhelming his senses. He wanted to turn away, to flee the room, but he could not. The spectacle was hypnotic. He watched, unable to blink, as Vanel's hands moved with astonishing skill, performing actions that were surgical, ritualistic, and terrifyingly precise. Sparks flew, the machinery groaned, and yet every movement seemed to serve a purpose beyond comprehension, each deliberate, each calculated to achieve a perfection that defied morality. Vanel spoke as he worked, his voice calm, almost conversational, even as he engaged in acts that made Samuel's skin crawl. "Many would call this abomination," he said softly. "But abomination is in the eye of the untrained. I see potential, evolution, the next step. Every life is a canvas, and I am the brush. Observe the strokes, the subtleties. Horror is merely the medium." His eyes met Samuel's piercing as if seeking approval or acknowledgement. "Do you understand, Samuel? Do you see the beauty in terror?" Samuel could only nod, words failing him. He felt his heartbeat hammering in his chest, each thump echoing like a drumbeat through the cavernous lab. The figure on the table convulsed once more, responding to Vanel's manipulations, before settling into an almost unnatural calm. Samuel realized with a start that the figure was now fully awake, its eyes, if they could be called that, glimmering with a strange, alien awareness. It moved, but not with the awkwardness of a human. Its motion was fluid, deliberate, almost as if it had learned a new language of movement that defied its previous biology. Vanel clapped his hands softly, a sound sharp in the tense air. "Perfect," he murmured. "See, Samuel? This is not death. This is transcendence. This is the inevitable evolution that humanity fears to embrace. Yet here it stands, a testament to what one mind can accomplish when willing to breach the boundaries others dare not cross." He turned fully to Samuel, his expression a mixture of pride and challenge. "And now, you must decide. Will you run, or will you witness what others cannot endure to see?" Samuel felt the weight of the moment pressing down upon him. His instincts screamed for flight, yet he found himself frozen, enraptured by the display before him. He could sense that Vanel's eyes were not merely watching him, they were probing, assessing, determining whether Samuel was worthy of witnessing the full extent of his work. The transformed subject on the table stirred once again, reaching a hand, if it could be called that, toward the ceiling, its movements eerily human, yet undeniably alien. I can't. Samuel stammered, words failing him entirely. Vanel's smile returned, gentle but terrifying in its intensity. "Good," he said. "Fear is appropriate. Curiosity is essential. You are on the cusp of understanding, Samuel. What you witness here tonight may haunt you, may terrify you, but it will also enlighten you. And perhaps, if you are brave enough, it may even save you from the mediocrity of ordinary existence." A sudden noise from the hallway startled both men, a metallic clang echoing through the empty corridors. Vanel's eyes flicked toward the source, calculating, assessing. Samuel felt a cold thrill run through him. Was it a guard, another victim, or something else entirely, drawn by the pulse of the hospital's dark heart? Vanel did not speak, only moved with deliberate, feline grace toward a panel on the wall. He pressed a hidden button, and a section of the wall slid aside, revealing a narrow, dimly lit corridor that seemed to descend into the very bowels of the building. "Come," Vanel said, his tone inviting, yet commanding. "The heart of my work lies below. There you will see the culmination of years of study, of persistence, of daring that the world has long since abandoned. Step lightly, Samuel. The descent is not merely physical, it is an initiation." Samuel hesitated, one foot on the edge of the corridor, the other rooted in fear. The shadows seemed to shift and pulse around him, as though aware of his every thought. The transformed subject rose from the table, moving fluidly to Vanel's side, and Samuel realized, with a thrill he could neither fully name nor suppress, that he was now witnessing the threshold of something monstrous, beautiful, and horrifying all at once. And so, trembling, with heart pounding and mind teetering on the brink of comprehension, Samuel Crane stepped into the corridor, following Dr. Horace Vanel into darkness, toward secrets that the world was not meant to know, toward a horror that was somehow a form of twisted enlightenment. The corridor beneath the hospital stretched endlessly, its walls slick with damp and decay, reflecting the pale glow of the dim, flickering lights that Vanel had somehow installed to illuminate the descent. Samuel Crane's steps echoed hollowly, a rhythmic accompaniment to the pounding of his heart. He tried to convince himself that he could turn back at any moment, that this was a story not worth the risk, but the magnetic pull of discovery, of seeing firsthand the horrifying brilliance of Dr. Vanel, was irresistible. Fear was no longer the dominant sensation. It had been eclipsed by an intoxicating mixture of curiosity and morbid fascination. As they walked, Vanel spoke, his voice low, deliberate, and almost soothing in its cadence, cutting through the oppressive silence. "You see, Samuel, the world above fears what it cannot comprehend. Ethics, morality, laws, they are convenient restraints for those who lack vision. But here, in this sanctum, I am free. free to explore, to innovate, to push the boundaries of what it means to live, to evolve, to endure. Most men and women run from horror, but true understanding demands confrontation. Samuel nodded, trying to keep pace with Vanel's long, purposeful strides. His eyes roamed the walls, searching for any hint of what lay ahead. Pipes, wires, and shadows intertwined in chaotic patterns, yet beneath the apparent disorder was a sense of meticulous planning, of intentional design. The deeper they went, the more Samuel sensed a rhythm, a pulse that seemed to emanate from the very walls. It was as if the hospital itself were alive, breathing, a living organism feeding on the fear and anticipation of those who dared enter. After what felt like an eternity, the corridor opened into a vast chamber, larger than anything Samuel could have imagined. The ceiling arched high above, shrouded in darkness, while the far end of the room was dominated by a platform bathed in cold, green light. Here, the machinery was more elaborate, more alien, a fusion of medical instruments, electrical apparatus, and strange arcane devices whose purpose Samuel could only guess. Tubes snaked along the floor, feeding into the central platform, while monitors flickered with numbers, graphs, and images that made little sense to him. The air was thick with the smell of chemicals, ozone, and a faint undertone of iron, as if blood, or something like it, had seeped into the very foundation of the room. At the center of the platform lay another subject, this one more grotesque than the figure Samuel had seen upstairs. It was partially restrained, its limbs held by polished metal clamps, its chest rising and falling with a slow, deliberate rhythm. Its skin, pallid and taut, seemed almost translucent under the green light, revealing glimpses of veins, muscles, and something that resembled machinery intertwined with flesh. The creature stirred slightly as Vanel approached, its eyes, if one could call them that, glimmering with a strange intelligence, unblinking, unafraid. Vanel's hands moved with precise, rehearsed motions as he adjusted the controls and surveyed the instruments arrayed around the platform. "This," he said, gesturing toward the restrained figure, "is the culmination of my work over the past 5 years. A hybrid of anatomy, physiology, and innovation beyond conventional understanding. A bridge between man and what comes next. Observe carefully, Samuel. There is a method to the madness, a logic to the chaos that few can perceive." Samuel's stomach churned as he watched Vanel manipulate the instruments, adjusting electrodes, inserting slender probes into the creature's skin, and fine-tuning dials that emitted low, almost imperceptible hums. Each action seemed precise, almost ritualistic, a combination of surgical expertise and scientific obsession. Sparks flashed as currents of electricity pulsed through the figure, causing it to convulse in ways that were both unnatural and mesmerizing. Yet, despite the horror, there was an undeniable elegance to the process, a disturbing artistry that Samuel could not look away from. What is it doing to him?" Samuel asked, his voice tight, caught between horror and fascination. Vanel's eyes gleamed. "Enhancing, stimulating, accelerating evolution. The human body is remarkably adaptable, yet it is constrained by the limitations of natural law. Here, I remove those constraints. I allow the subject to reach a potential that would otherwise remain dormant, unexplored. The pain you see is a byproduct of awakening. Fear and agony are necessary catalysts for transformation." The creature's body twisted, its joints moving in ways that defied human anatomy, yet its eyes remained locked on Samuel. There was an intelligence there, an awareness that transcended simple animal instinct. Samuel felt a shiver run through him, a mix of awe and terror as he realized that Vanel's work was not merely physical, it was psychological, probing, reshaping, awakening consciousness in ways that should have been impossible. Vanel paused, stepping back to observe. "Notice the pattern, Samuel. Every twitch, every movement is a response, a communication. The body adapts, learns, evolves, and soon it will no longer require my guidance. It will be autonomous, capable of functions far beyond ordinary humans. Do you see? Do you understand the beauty in this horror?" Samuel nodded, unable to speak. He wanted to protest, to demand that Vanel stop, that he abandon this monstrous pursuit, but the words would not form. Instead, he could only watch as the doctor returned to his instruments, his hands moving with delicate precision, coaxing, guiding, commanding the transformation with a skill that was terrifyingly absolute. Time seemed to stretch in the chamber, seconds elongating into minutes, minutes into hours. Samuel lost track of both as he observed, trapped in a spell of horror and fascination. The creature on the platform convulsed again, this time more violently, its body adapting, reshaping itself in real time. Its eyes fixed on Samuel once more, and he felt with a jolt that it recognized him, that it understood his presence. A shiver of primal fear coursed through him. This was no longer a passive experiment. It was alive, aware, and learning. Vanel stepped closer, placing a hand on the creature's shoulder, his touch gentle yet commanding. "Observe the subtleties," he whispered. "The micro-adjustments, the incremental shifts that yield monumental changes. Horror is not in the spectacle alone, Samuel. It is in the details, the meticulous care, the relentless pursuit of perfection. Most men fear the intricacy of what they do not comprehend. I embrace it." Samuel's eyes flicked toward the monitors, trying to make sense of the data displayed. Numbers and graphs scrolled rapidly, indecipherable yet undeniably significant. He felt as though he were peering into the very mechanics of life itself, witnessing the threads of existence being rewoven by Vanel's hands. There was a logic here, an order to the chaos that he could not fully grasp but could sense instinctively. A rhythm that was both horrifying and profoundly beautiful. Suddenly, the creature emitted a low, guttural sound, almost like a growl, though there was intelligence behind it, a recognition of its own existence, of the experiment that was reshaping it. Samuel felt a thrill of terror shoot through him. He realized, with a clarity that made his heart pound, that Vanel was creating not monsters, nor mere subjects, but beings that transcended humanity itself. And the implications of such a creation were beyond anything he could fully comprehend. Vanel turned to Samuel, his expression a mixture of pride and challenge. "Do you see now, Samuel? Do you understand why I am called the Doctor of Horror? Not because I indulge in the grotesque for its own sake, but because I reveal the hidden potential within the veil of terror. Fear is a teacher, agony a guide, and horror is the path to enlightenment." He paused, letting the weight of his words settle in the chamber. "And now, you must ask yourself, will you remain merely an observer, or will you embrace the understanding that comes only to those who dare witness?" Samuel felt the question reverberate through him, shaking him to his core. Every instinct screamed to flee, yet he could not move, could not turn away. The allure of understanding, of witnessing the very boundaries of life being rewritten, held him in thrall. His mind raced, grappling with the horror before him, the beauty, the undeniable intelligence, and the terrifying potential of Vanel's work. The doctor's gaze bore into him, unyielding, and Samuel realized that the choice was no longer theoretical. He was implicated simply by being present, by daring to observe. The creature on the platform shifted again, its eyes locking on him with an almost human intensity, and Samuel felt a cold thrill run through him. This was no longer science, no longer mere experimentation. It was an encounter with something beyond comprehension, something that would change him forever, should he survive. Vanel's voice cut through the tension, calm and commanding. "Prepare yourself, Samuel. The next stage begins. You will see the full extent of my work, the culmination of years of tireless effort, and the dawn of a new understanding. Brace yourself for revelation, for horror, and for the beauty that lies entwined within both." The chamber seemed to close in on Samuel as he followed Vanel further into the depths of the laboratory. The lights above flickered erratically, casting jagged shadows that danced across the walls like skeletal apparitions. He could hear the low hum of machinery vibrating through the concrete floors, a pulse that seemed almost alive, synchronizing with the frantic beating of his own heart. Every step he took was measured, deliberate, though he felt as though he were walking through a dream or a nightmare crafted entirely by the twisted mind of Dr. Horace Vanell. Vanell moved ahead with fluid precision, his long coat brushing against the floor, his gloved hands occasionally adjusting dials or flipping switches on panels that Samuel could barely comprehend. Each click and whir resonated in the cavernous chamber like the ticking of some infernal clock, counting down toward an unknown climax. Samuel tried to steady his breathing, telling himself this was journalism, a pursuit of truth. Yet he knew the truth he sought might come at a cost far greater than he had ever imagined. At the far end of the chamber, a new apparatus awaited them, a platform surrounded by a lattice of wires, electrodes, and pulsing tubes. Suspended above it were several translucent canisters, each containing a figure that appeared to be in various stages of transformation. Samuel felt bile rise in his throat as he recognized the familiar outlines of human anatomy, twisted and reshaped in ways that defied natural law. He could see muscle fibers reconfiguring themselves, limbs stretching and condensing, organs shifting subtly but impossibly within the transparent membranes. Vanell's voice cut through the oppressive silence, calm yet commanding. "Observe closely, Samuel. This is the phase where the mind and body are honed together, where evolution is not merely physical but mental, emotional, and spiritual. Pain is the teacher, terror the curriculum, and the horror, the sublime horror, is the revelation." His hands moved deftly, adjusting the dials on the central console as sparks arced along the wires, illuminating the room in brief, brilliant flashes. One of the figures stirred violently, convulsing as the transformation accelerated. Its eyes, wide and unblinking, glimmered with an intelligence that was unnerving in its clarity. It looked at Samuel for a moment, and in that gaze was something incomprehensible, a recognition, a silent plea, a warning. Samuel felt an icy shiver travel down his spine. The figure was no longer merely a subject of experimentation. It was conscious, aware, and somehow complicit in its own grotesque evolution. Vanell approached the platform with a slow, deliberate gait, his eyes locked on the creature as if reading a complex, invisible language. "Do you see the subtlety? The interplay of nerve and sinew, thought and reflex?" he asked, more to himself than to Samuel. "Each adjustment is a conversation with the body, a dialogue with the very essence of life. The ordinary human mind cannot comprehend this symphony, but I am attuned to it. I understand the music of creation and destruction alike." Samuel's stomach twisted as he watched the transformation unfold. Limbs elongated, bones shifted with soft, wet cracks, and the skin rippled unnaturally, adapting to a form that was both human and otherworldly. The creature's movements were precise, almost graceful despite the grotesque changes, a horrifying ballet choreographed by Vanell's genius. He could feel the intelligence behind the eyes piercing into him, challenging, questioning, daring him to flee or to remain and witness the ultimate unveiling. Vanell's hands moved with meticulous care, adjusting electrodes and levers as if conducting a conductorless orchestra. "You understand now, Samuel," he said, his voice smooth and hypnotic. "Horror is not simply a tool to terrify. It is the key to enlightenment. The mind resists what it cannot control. The body rebels against the unnatural. But through controlled horror, through deliberate suffering, one attains clarity, understanding, even transcendence." Samuel wanted to speak, to question, to argue, but words failed him. His instincts screamed to leave, yet his curiosity, his desire to witness the impossible, anchored him in place. He felt as though he were standing at the edge of a precipice, peering into a chasm of unspeakable terror, yet mesmerized by the strange beauty that lay within. Every convulsion, every twitch, every flicker of intelligence in the creature's eyes deepened the enigma that Vanell had become. The doctor paused, wiping his brow with a gloved hand, then turned to Samuel, his expression a mix of pride and challenge. "Do you see? You are not merely observing. You are participating in a revelation. You are here at the frontier of human understanding. Most flee from what they cannot grasp, but you have the courage to witness the truth. And the truth is, Humanity is capable of far more than it dares imagine. Even in horror, there is beauty. Samuel swallowed hard, his throat dry. And the others? He asked, nodding toward the figures suspended in the canisters. They are earlier experiments, Vanel explained, his voice almost tender. Each iteration brings us closer to perfection. Some fail, some succeed partially, and a rare few, transcend entirely. The failures teach more than the successes, for horror is often the harshest teacher. Observe the process, Samuel. The line between life and death, human and other, is thinner than you believe, and in this chamber I navigate that line with precision. Samuel felt a shiver of realization. Vanel was not merely conducting experiments, he was rewriting the very definition of life. And the creatures, the hybrids, the evolved subjects, they were not victims, at least not entirely. They were collaborators in a grotesque symphony, co-creators in a vision that only Vanel could comprehend fully. The thought was both exhilarating and terrifying, a paradox that made his head spin. The creature on the platform twitched again, its eyes locking onto Vanel. It let out a sound, a low, resonant hum, almost musical in its cadence. Samuel could feel the vibration in his chest, a physical resonance that seemed to echo through his very bones. Vanel smiled, as though understanding a private joke, and adjusted the dials. The creature's body responded instantly, movements flowing with newfound grace and intelligence. Samuel realized with a start that Vanel had achieved something beyond physical manipulation. He had communicated, trained, perhaps even bonded with the consciousness of his creation. Vanel turned toward Samuel, eyes glittering with intensity. "Do you see now? This is the culmination of years of study, of meticulous observation and relentless pursuit. The body, mind, and spirit, intertwined, enhanced, elevated. Horror is merely the vessel, Samuel. The destination is revelation." The hum of machinery rose to a crescendo, the lights flickering wildly, casting elongated shadows across the room. Samuel felt a wave of vertigo, as if the very walls were closing in, reshaping themselves with each pulse of the machines. The creatures in the canisters shifted, responding to the vibrations, their forms becoming more fluid, more self-aware. The air was thick with the scent of ozone, chemicals, and an indefinable tang of something organic yet alien. Vanel's gaze swept over the chamber, encompassing every detail, every figure, every instrument. Prepare yourself, Samuel. You are about to witness the final stage. This is where the boundary between horror and enlightenment, between fear and understanding, dissolves. Few have survived this step. Fewer still have comprehended it. And yet, here you stand, on the cusp of revelation. Samuel felt his pulse quicken, his body trembling with a mixture of anticipation and dread. The hum of the machines, the pulsing lights, the intelligent gaze of the creatures, it was all overwhelming, yet compelling. He realized, with a clarity that was both exhilarating and terrifying, that he could never unsee what he was about to witness. There was no turning back, no retreat. The final stage of Vanel's work awaited, and he would either understand or be consumed by the horror that lay within. Vanel stepped toward the central platform, raising a hand as if to command the chamber itself. "Behold, Samuel," he said, voice echoing in the vast space. "The doctor of horror does not merely observe life. He reshapes it. He elevates it. He transforms it. And tonight, you will bear witness to the pinnacle of human potential." The creatures stirred, their movements synchronized, a symphony of horror and beauty unfolding before Samuel's eyes. He felt a shiver of fear, of awe, and of an unnameable fascination that rooted him to the spot. The final stage had begun, and the Doctor of Horror, Dr. Horace Vanel, was orchestrating a revelation that would leave its mark not only on the subjects before him, but on Samuel himself. The hum of the machines swelled, reverberating through the chamber like the heartbeat of some immense, invisible entity. Samuel Crane's senses were assaulted on every front. The blinding flicker of green and red lights, the metallic scent that clung to the air, the soft, wet sounds of flesh moving beneath tensioned restraints. Every instinct screamed to flee, yet some deeper, darker curiosity kept him rooted. He could not look away. And as the final stage began, he understood that this was not merely a demonstration of Vanel's genius. It was an initiation into a world of horrors that defied the natural order. Vanel's hands moved with a grace that was both mesmerizing and horrifying, adjusting wires, rotating dials, and manipulating electrodes with the precision of a concert pianist playing a symphony of agony and ecstasy. Sparks flew from the control panels, illuminating the creatures in the canisters, whose forms seemed to ripple and shift with every change in voltage, as though life itself was being rewritten in real time. Samuel's pulse raced. He could see sinews elongating, eyes reshaping, joints bending in ways that should have been impossible. Yet every motion was purposeful, precise, calculated to exact a new level of evolution. "This is the culmination," Vanel murmured, his eyes reflecting both madness and brilliance. "The threshold where fear becomes understanding, pain becomes insight, and horror becomes enlightenment. Witness it, Samuel. Absorb it. Comprehend the inevitability of transformation." The central platform vibrated slightly under Samuel's feet, a low hum resonating through his bones. The creature there, now fully awake, opened its mouth, not to scream, but to emit a low, melodic tone that harmonized with the rhythm of the machinery. Samuel felt a shiver run down his spine, a wave of recognition and terror. The creature was no longer merely alive. It was sentient, aware, and communicating in a language beyond words. Every movement, every pulse of its form, seemed deliberate, intelligent, a negotiation between the monstrous and the miraculous. Vanel stepped closer, his shadow falling across the creature in a manner that seemed almost reverential. "Do you see?" he asked softly, almost tenderly. "It has transcended the limitations of ordinary humanity. It responds, adapts, learns. Each pulse of fear, each twinge of pain is a catalyst for growth. What others call suffering, I call evolution. And what others call horror, I call truth." Samuel's mind reeled. He wanted to scream, to demand that Vanel stop, that he undo what he had done, but the words lodged in his throat. Instead, he watched, mesmerized and horrified, as the creature's body twisted and reformed, adopting shapes that were impossible, yet strangely beautiful. There was a symmetry, a logic to the chaos, a rhythm to the unnatural elegance. Samuel realized with a start that he was witnessing not just the defiance of mortality, but the birth of a new species, one that existed on the threshold between human and something beyond comprehension. A sudden movement from one of the other canisters drew Samuel's attention. The figure inside was no longer passive. It had begun to move in sync with the central subject, its body undulating in time with the machinery, eyes glinting with intelligence. A shiver of awe and a sharp stab of fear hit Samuel simultaneously. Vanel was orchestrating not merely individual transformations, but a collective evolution, a networked consciousness developing under his careful manipulation. The chamber itself seemed to pulse with life. Each machine, each wire, each hum, a part of a greater organism that Vanel had constructed around his creations. Vanel's voice cut through the resonance of the machines. "Do you feel it, Samuel? The energy, the potential, the inevitability? Fear is only the beginning. Understanding comes next, and with understanding comes power. True horror is not in what you see, it is in what you comprehend." He gestured toward the array of creatures. "They are alive, and yet they are more than alive. They are proof that what the world deems impossible is merely unattempted." Samuel swallowed hard. The room seemed to tilt and spin around him. The rhythmic convulsions of the creatures, the hum of the machines, the faint metallic pulse that resonated through the floor. It was intoxicating, overwhelming, and terrifying. He felt as though he were on the edge of a revelation that would alter everything he knew about life, consciousness, and the human form. And yet, lurking beneath that fascination was an undeniable terror. He was standing in the presence of a man who had defied morality, ethics, and nature itself, and Samuel's fate was now irrevocably entwined with Vanel's work. The central figure reached upward, its movements fluid, deliberate, almost ritualistic. Samuel noticed subtle changes in its physiology, fingers elongating, skin shimmering like wet marble, eyes reflecting light in ways that suggested heightened perception. The creature's gaze met Samuel's directly, and for a moment he felt a connection, a recognition, a silent plea. It was not merely a subject. It was aware of him, as if assessing whether he was a threat, a witness, or perhaps a participant in its ongoing evolution. Vanel knelt beside the platform, his hands moving with precision, coaxing, guiding, manipulating. "Do not be afraid," he said softly. "This is the process. Pain is necessary. Horror is necessary. Understanding requires both. And you, Samuel, are here to witness it, to comprehend it. Few ever see this stage. Fewer still survive it. And yet, here you are." The hum of the machines intensified, the lights flickering violently, casting twisted shadows that writhed across the walls. Samuel's head spun, a kaleidoscope of shapes and colors blending with the rhythmic movements of the creatures. It was a sensory overload, a combination of fascination and terror that left him breathless. And then, as suddenly as it had intensified, the hum subsided, leaving a profound silence that pressed against him like a physical weight. Vanel stood, his expression serene yet electric with energy. "Now, Samuel, observe closely. The final adjustments, the culmination. This is the moment where ordinary life ends and extraordinary existence begins." He moved to a control panel, pressing buttons and flipping switches in rapid succession. The machinery roared to life, and the central creature convulsed violently before settling into a new form, taller, more streamlined, with a subtle glow emanating from beneath its skin. Its eyes glinted with awareness and intelligence that transcended human comprehension. Samuel felt an indescribable mixture of fear, awe, and exhilaration. The creature was no longer a victim. It was a new entity, a being that straddled the line between life and something beyond. Its gaze met his, and he felt, as though through some unspoken understanding, that it acknowledged him as a witness, perhaps even as a participant in the profound horror he was observing. Vanel turned to Samuel, his eyes alight with triumph. "Do you understand now? This is why I am the doctor of horror. Not for the terror I invoke, but for the truth I reveal. Life, fear, pain, transformation, they are all tools, Samuel, and what you see here tonight is the pinnacle of their potential. Few can endure it, fewer can comprehend it, but those who do, they are changed forever." Samuel's knees shook, his hands trembled, and yet he could not look away. He understood, in that moment, that he had crossed a threshold, that there was no turning back. The creatures, the machinery, the very air of the chamber, they had reshaped his perception of life, of consciousness, of what it meant to be human. Horror had become enlightenment, and he was trapped in its grasp. Vanel stepped closer, placing a hand on Samuel's shoulder, his touch both reassuring and commanding. "Prepare yourself," he whispered. "The next stage is imminent. Witness, learn, survive. The Doctor of Horror has only just begun." The chamber's air seemed to thicken as Samuel Crane followed Vanel deeper into the labyrinth of pulsing machinery and transformed bodies. Each step felt heavier than the last, the weight of dread and fascination pressing down on him. He could hear his own heartbeat, a relentless drum against the backdrop of the low, almost organic hum of the lab. His mind reeled with questions he dared not voice, trapped as he was by both terror and the unholy allure of Vanel's creations. Vanel paused at a junction in the corridor, a place where the walls bulged outward slightly, revealing a set of stairs spiraling downward into darkness. The dim light barely reached the steps, casting the stairwell into deep shadow, yet Vanel moved forward with complete confidence, as if the darkness itself obeyed his will. "This," he said, his voice low and deliberate, "is where the work begins anew. Above, you've witnessed the refinement of the body, the awakening of the mind. Below, we confront the soul, the final frontier. Samuel hesitated, his instincts screaming at him to flee. Every rational thought urged retreat, yet something darker, more compelling, compelled him to follow. Curiosity, fascination, morbid courage, it was impossible to distinguish which force drove him. Vanel's shadow stretched ahead, and with a deep breath Samuel descended, step by careful step, into the unknown. The stairs opened into a vast subterranean chamber, the walls covered in a labyrinthine network of tubes and wires that pulsed with an eerie green light. The room smelled of ozone and something faintly metallic, the scent of altered life itself. Along the edges, more subjects were restrained in various states of transformation, their forms shifting subtly, almost imperceptibly, as if the air itself guided their evolution. Some had human features, others were grotesquely alien, yet all shared a curious, disturbing grace, a beauty born of horror. Vanel moved to a central console, his fingers dancing over switches and dials, orchestrating a symphony of controlled chaos. The figures on the tables twitched in response, their movements fluid, deliberate, almost communicative. Samuel's eyes widened as he tried to comprehend the mechanics of it all, how a human could manipulate life in such a profound, intricate way. It was artistry disguised as madness, genius hidden beneath a veneer of horror. "Observe the rhythm," Vanel instructed, his voice hypnotic. "It is in the minute adjustments, the subtle harmonics, that true transformation occurs. Fear, pain, and uncertainty are essential components. Without them, evolution is incomplete. What you see here is not cruelty. It is education, refinement, transcendence." One of the figures, a subject that appeared to be halfway between human and some unknown form, turned its gaze toward Samuel. Its eyes, if they could be called eyes, shimmered with a strange awareness, a recognition of his presence. Samuel felt a chill run down his spine. This was no longer mere experimentation. It was communion. The creature seemed to be assessing him, probing his mind, testing his reactions. A voice in the back of his head whispered that it understood far more than he did, that it perceived not only him, but the potential consequences of his own existence in this chamber. Vanel crouched beside the figure, adjusting a cluster of electrodes and tubes. "Do you feel it, Samuel? The interplay of energy, consciousness, and flesh. Each pulse of fear, each tremor of pain, each flicker of uncertainty contributes to the awakening. We are conducting not just an experiment, but a symphony of life itself. Witness it, and understand that what the world calls horror is merely the surface of potential." Samuel felt his knees weaken as he leaned against the wall, absorbing the scene before him. The figures in the restraints convulsed and shifted, their bodies a blur of organic transformation, yet with a rhythm, a precision that suggested a conscious orchestration. The central platform vibrated with increasing intensity, and Samuel realized that the process was accelerating. The final stage, whatever it entailed, was imminent. A low, resonant hum began to fill the chamber, emanating from the central platform. The vibrations traveled through the floor, through Samuel's feet, and deep into his chest, rattling his ribs and sending a shiver of primal terror through his entire being. The central figure, now fully awake, moved with a fluidity that defied human anatomy, its elongated limbs bending in impossible angles yet maintaining a terrifying grace. Its gaze locked onto Samuel, and he felt as if the creature were peering directly into his soul, understanding him, judging him, challenging him. Vanel stood behind Samuel, his presence commanding yet oddly reassuring. "Do you see now? The essence of horror is comprehension, Samuel. It is the confrontation with what the mind fears, yet cannot resist exploring. Life is malleable, consciousness is adaptable, and through controlled terror, one may glimpse the true potential of existence." The figures on the tables began to emit low, melodic sounds, harmonizing with the mechanical vibrations of the chamber. It was a music of horror, a symphony of evolution, resonating through every nerve and bone in Samuel's body. The creatures moved in perfect unison, a fluid choreography that transcended instinct, a deliberate dance of transformation guided by Vanel's will. The spectacle was both terrifying and hypnotic, an elegant fusion of science and monstrosity. Vanel approached the central console, his hands manipulating the dials with precision. Sparks arced along the wires, illuminating the figures in stark relief. The central subject convulsed violently before settling into a new form, taller, more symmetrical, with subtle bioluminescent patterns rippling beneath its skin. Its eyes glowed with awareness, intelligence, and something indefinably alien. Samuel's breath caught. The creature was no longer merely human. It was something new, something beyond comprehension, and yet it radiated a disturbing kind of beauty. "Observe the culmination," Vanel said, his voice reverberating through the chamber. "This is the threshold where fear and understanding converge. The human mind is limited by convention, by fear, by morality. Here, none of that binds us. The doctor of horror does not merely witness life. He reshapes it, elevates it, transcends it." Samuel's hands trembled as he realized the magnitude of what he was seeing. Each creature, each pulse of the machines, each adjustment Vanel made was a step toward a revelation that might reshape the very definition of life. Horror and beauty were intertwined, inseparable, a duality that left him both fascinated and paralyzed with fear. The air itself seemed charged, electric, vibrating with the potential of the unknown. The central figure's gaze returned to Samuel, and he felt an almost imperceptible shift in its awareness, a recognition that went beyond sight. It was aware of him, his presence, his fear, and his fascination. It seemed to communicate, silently, a warning, a plea, and a challenge all at once. Samuel felt his mind stretching to understand what was being conveyed, but comprehension eluded him. He was an observer, yet a participant in something far greater, far darker, and far more profound than he had ever imagined. Vanel's voice cut through the charged silence, calm and commanding. "Brace yourself, Samuel. The final act is upon us. You are not merely a witness, you are an integral part of this revelation. Few survive it, fewer comprehend it, and those who do are never the same again." Samuel's pulse thundered in his ears. The figures on the tables quivered, the machinery vibrated, and the hum of energy rose to a crescendo. The chamber seemed alive, responsive, sentient, a living testament to Vanel's genius and madness. Horror, he realized, was merely the medium through which understanding was achieved. And he, Samuel Crane, was about to be immersed in a revelation that would either destroy him or elevate him beyond the bounds of ordinary comprehension. The chamber seemed to pulse with a life of its own, an almost sentient presence that resonated with every step Samuel Crane took. The low hum of machinery had evolved into a complex symphony of vibrations, each tone carrying a strange rhythm that reverberated deep within his chest. Samuel's mind swirled, trying to reconcile what he was seeing with what he understood about the natural world, but comprehension slipped through his fingers like water. He felt simultaneously insignificant and integral, as if every particle of his being had been drawn into Vanel's meticulously orchestrated experiment. Vanel walked beside him, his shadow stretching across the floor, merging with the elongated forms of the transformed subjects. "Do you feel it?" Vanel asked, his voice almost a whisper yet resonant with authority. "The culmination of fear, understanding, and evolution? Every pulse, every movement, every breath here is part of a continuum. Life is not static. It is malleable, pliable, ready to be sculpted by the willing and the capable." Samuel tried to speak, but the words lodged in his throat. He could only nod, his eyes darting from the central figure, now fully evolved, almost ethereal in its grace, to the other subjects, each displaying subtle signs of heightened intelligence and awareness. Limbs stretched and contracted with a precision that defied natural anatomy, muscles and sinews adapting instantaneously to stimuli, and eyes, so human in shape yet alien in depth, tracked his every motion. There was a consciousness within them, a cognition that made the flesh itself seem secondary to some underlying, unfathomable intelligence. The doctor moved to the control panel on the far side of the chamber, his fingers dancing across switches, levers, and touch-sensitive pads. Sparks shot from a few exposed terminals, illuminating the chamber in brief electric flashes, revealing the intricate lattice of wiring and tubing that crisscrossed the floor, walls, and ceiling. The air was thick with the smell of ozone, metal, and some indefinable organic tang, the scent of evolution in progress. Samuel gagged slightly but forced himself to remain still, unable to turn away from the spectacle before him. "The stage," Vanel continued, "is not for the faint of heart. Above, we refined the body, awakened the mind. Here, we awaken potential that lies dormant even in consciousness itself. Fear is the catalyst, terror the instrument, horror the medium through which true understanding emerges." His eyes gleamed with a mix of triumph and madness, reflecting the green-tinged glow of the chamber. "And you, Samuel, are here to witness it. Few have ever dared. Fewer still comprehend it. And those who do are irrevocably changed." A sudden shiver ran through Samuel as one of the subjects, an entity with elongated limbs and subtly iridescent skin, turned its gaze directly on him. There was a depth there that defied description, a silent intelligence that seemed to pierce not only his body, but his very soul. Samuel felt a primal fear, an instinctive terror that threatened to unseat his reason. And yet, interwoven with that terror was a strange, magnetic fascination. He could not look away. It was as if the creature was inviting him, daring him, testing him in a way that transcended the boundaries of simple observation. Vanel crouched beside the central subject, manipulating electrodes and probes with delicate precision. Sparks danced across the metal surfaces, creating brief, blinding flashes. The central figure convulsed violently, then settled into a pose of sublime elegance, limbs folding and extending with deliberate fluidity. Its eyes, glowing faintly in the green light, locked onto Samuel's again, and he felt the full weight of the being's awareness. It was observing him, analyzing him, as though judging whether he was worthy to witness the next stage of the Doctor of Horror's work. "Observe the subtleties," Vanel said, more to himself than to Samuel. "Every micro-adjustment, every pulse of voltage, every change in frequency is designed to coax not merely growth, but evolution, not merely understanding, but transcendence. The world above fears these processes because they defy expectation. Here, we embrace them because they reveal truth." Samuel's stomach turned as he felt a strange vibration, emanating from the central platform and spreading outward through the floor. The creatures began to respond in unison, their bodies shifting with a fluidity that seemed choreographed. Muscles contracted and expanded in a sequence of impossible precision. Skin shimmered as if alive, and eyes glowed with intelligence that Samuel could barely comprehend. The entire chamber seemed to resonate with a singular purpose, a collective consciousness orchestrated by Vanel's genius, or madness. "Do you understand now?" Vanel asked, his voice soft yet penetrating. "Horror is not in what you see. It is in what you comprehend, in the confrontation with that which challenges your understanding of life, consciousness, and existence itself. The Doctor of Horror does not merely witness, he shapes, he guides, he transcends." Samuel felt a tremor of both terror and exhilaration. Every fiber of his being screamed to flee, yet he could not move. The creatures, the machinery, the very air of the chamber, they had ensnared him in a web of fascination and dread. He realized, with a cold clarity, that he had crossed a threshold from which there was no return. The revelations awaiting him would either shatter him completely or elevate him to a plane of understanding far beyond the ordinary. The central figure emitted a sound, a low, resonant hum, almost musical in its cadence. The vibrations coursed through Samuel's body, rattling his bones and stirring a deep, primal fear within him. And yet, interlaced with the terror, was an undeniable sense of awe. The creature's movements were not random. They were purposeful, deliberate, communicating some intelligence that transcended words. Samuel understood in that instant that Vanel's work was not merely biological. It was psychic, spiritual, a redefinition of consciousness itself. Vanel adjusted a dial, and the central figure responded immediately, its form flowing, adapting, and becoming more luminous. The other subjects mirrored the change, their transformations synchronized in an intricate dance of evolution. Samuel's mind reeled. He had read about experimental medicine, genetic manipulation, and even theoretical consciousness studies, but nothing prepared him for the living proof of transcendence unfolding before him. The creatures were no longer simply subjects. They were extensions of Vanel's vision, entities that straddled the line between life as known and life as imagined. The doctor stepped back, his gaze sweeping across the chamber. "Prepare yourself, Samuel," he said. "The final revelation is upon us. You will witness the apex of fear, the zenith of understanding, and the moment when horror becomes clarity. Few endure this stage, fewer comprehend it, and those who do, they are never the same." Samuel's pulse quickened, his chest tightening as the chamber seemed to vibrate in anticipation. The figures on the table shifted once more, moving in perfect coordinated patterns. Sparks danced across wires, illuminating the chamber in brief, dazzling flashes. A low hum filled the space, the resonance so powerful that Samuel could feel it in his very marrow. And then, as the hum intensified, the central figure began to rise, its form radiating a strange, unearthly glow that cast flickering shadows across the walls. It was no longer merely a creature. It was a symbol of Vanel's vision, a testament to the fusion of fear, knowledge, and transcendence. Samuel felt his knees weaken, his hands trembling, yet he could not look away. Horror, he realized, was merely the vessel. Understanding, transcendence, and revelation were the destination, and the Doctor of Horror, Dr. Horace Vanel, had led him to the threshold of both. The chamber's glow intensified, casting long, wavering shadows that danced across the walls like ghostly specters. Samuel Crane's vision swam in the eerie light, yet he could not avert his eyes. Every muscle in his body tensed, a combination of fear and fascination rooting him to the cold, metallic floor. The central figure hovered now, radiating a soft bioluminescent glow that pulsed in rhythm with the hum of the machinery. It was no longer merely a creature. It was a nexus of transformation, a living manifestation of Vanel's vision. Samuel's rational mind recoiled, yet some deeper instinct whispered that this moment was beyond comprehension, beyond morality, and beyond, an ordinary human understanding. Vanel moved with purpose, his shadow blending seamlessly with the elongated forms of the other transformed subjects. "Observe carefully, Samuel," he said, his voice smooth yet charged with authority. "The apex of horror is not a scream, nor a grotesque spectacle. It is revelation. It is the confrontation with what the mind cannot predict, the body cannot anticipate, and the soul cannot refuse. Here, fear becomes insight, terror becomes understanding, and horror becomes transcendence." The central figure stretched upward, its limbs bending at impossible angles, skin shimmering like liquid light. Its eyes, luminescent pools of intelligence, fixed upon Samuel, a gaze that penetrated beyond mere perception. For a moment, Samuel felt his mind shatter into fragments, each fragment vibrating in resonance with the being before him. The air thickened, charged with energy that made his hair stand on end. He realized, with a thrill of both dread and awe, that Vanel had achieved the impossible, the fusion of mind, body, and something that defied categorization, a form of existence beyond humanity itself. Vanel stepped closer, his gloved hands manipulating a series of dials with delicate precision. Sparks arced across exposed wires, briefly illuminating the chamber in strobing flashes. The figures on the platforms responded in unison, a ballet of shifting, fluid motion that was both terrifying and hypnotic. Samuel struggled to comprehend the scale of what he was witnessing. The creatures were not merely alive, they were intelligent, adaptive, and aware of their environment and of him. Each movement was deliberate, a negotiation between consciousness and physiology that transcended anything he had ever encountered. "Do you feel it?" Vanel asked, his voice almost a caress, almost a command. This is the essence of controlled evolution. Every pulse of electricity, every convulsion of the body, every flicker of fear contributes to a higher understanding. The mind resists at first, then awakens. The body rebels, then adapts. The soul trembles, then comprehends. Observe the pattern, Samuel. It is perfection in motion. Samuel's pulse thundered in his ears. He felt a strange, almost tangible connection to the central figure, as if its awareness was reaching through the thin veneer of his own consciousness. A subtle shift in the being's posture, a slight ripple in the glow beneath its skin conveyed meaning, an unspoken message that both warned and beckoned. Samuel felt the hair on the back of his neck rise as a shiver of premonition coursed through him. He was no longer merely a witness. He had become part of the experiment, an integral component of Vanel's symphony of horror and revelation. The other figures stirred, responding in perfect harmony to some signal beyond Samuel's perception. Limbs elongated, torsos twisted gracefully, and the iridescent glow pulsed in a rhythm that seemed synchronized with the low, resonant hum of the machinery. Each subject displayed subtle signs of heightened intelligence, reacting to Vanel's adjustments and to one another, a networked consciousness forming before Samuel's disbelieving eyes. Fear mingled with fascination, a cocktail that left him both immobilized and compelled to watch. Vanel's eyes glittered as he observed the transformations, his fingers moving with meticulous precision. "Do you understand now?" he asked. "This is the culmination of years of research, experimentation, and deliberate exposure to horror. Life, as you know it, is finite, predictable, limited. Here, it is malleable, adaptable, infinite. Fear and pain are the instruments. Knowledge and revelation are the symphony. And you, Samuel, are here to witness the apex." The central figure let out a low, resonant tone, a musical vibration that coursed through the chamber, reverberating against metal walls and through Samuel's chest. The sensation was both painful and intoxicating, a primal echo that seemed to tap directly into his nervous system. The other subjects responded, their harmonized tones forming a haunting, beautiful cadence that defied language. Samuel felt a peculiar euphoria mixed with terror. His mind expanding, his perception stretching toward something he could not name, a frontier beyond human comprehension. Vanel adjusted the final dial, and the central figure convulsed in a surge of movement that sent sparks flying from the wires. Limbs extended, contracted, and folded in impossible configurations, the skin glowing with intensified luminescence. Its gaze held Samuel's, and in that gaze he saw understanding, intelligence, and perhaps judgment. It was no longer merely observing. It was aware of him as a participant, a witness, and possibly a test. Samuel felt a flicker of unease. The creature's intelligence was not benevolent, nor entirely hostile. It was alien, inscrutable, and commanding absolute attention. "Prepare yourself," Vanel said softly, almost reverently. "The final stage approaches. Witness it fully, and you will see the ultimate synthesis of fear, evolution, and comprehension. Few endure it. Fewer still emerge unchanged. And those who do are transformed, irreversibly, into something beyond ordinary understanding." Samuel's knees trembled. The hum of the chamber swelled to a peak, vibrating through every nerve and bone. The figures responded, moving in a synchronized choreography that was simultaneously grotesque and sublime. Limbs intertwined and separated, torsos twisted gracefully, and the ethereal glow cast shifting, spectral shadows across the walls. The air was charged, thick with the scent of ozone and organic transformation, every breath carrying the weight of anticipation and dread. The central figure began to rise from the platform, floating with a fluidity that defied gravity, its glowing eyes fixed on Samuel. The other subjects mirrored the motion, ascending in a coordinated, almost ritualistic pattern. Samuel's mind reeled. What he had considered impossible was now manifest. A collective consciousness, evolved beyond human limitations, responding to Vanel's will and perhaps even guiding it in return. He felt a wave of vertigo, a nausea born of the simultaneous realization of danger and revelation. He was part of something immense, unknowable, and irrevocable. Vanel's hands moved across the controls with surgical precision, orchestrating the final adjustments. "Do you see?" he whispered. "The Doctor of Horror does not merely witness life. He sculpts it, guides it, elevates it. What you are seeing is the fusion of mind, body, and something beyond, the essence of transcendence itself. Horror is the medium. Understanding is the destination." Samuel's eyes filled with a mixture of fear, awe, and a strange exhilaration. The chamber, the creatures, the doctor, everything seemed to converge in a crescendo of sensation, a climax that threatened to overwhelm his very senses. He understood now that there was no retreat, no escape, and no ordinary comprehension left. He was immersed, irrevocably, in Vanel's vision, a participant in a symphony of horror and revelation that transcended human understanding. As the central figure and its counterparts hovered, their luminescent forms interweaving in the charged air, Samuel felt the culmination of Vanel's work wash over him like a tidal wave. Fear, comprehension, awe, and terror merged into a singular sensation that resonated through every fiber of his being. He had crossed the threshold, and the Doctor of Horror had guided him to the precipice of ultimate revelation. The chamber seemed to pulse with an almost conscious rhythm, a heartbeat that resonated through the very floor and walls. Samuel Crane felt the vibrations seep into his bones, making his knees buckle, his chest tighten, and his mind race with terror and wonder. The transformed figures hovered in mid-air, their elongated forms interlaced in a mesmerizing lattice of light and motion. Each movement was deliberate, precise, almost ritualistic, a choreography that was both horrifying and breathtaking. The glow emanating from their skin pulsed in perfect synchronization with the low hum of the machinery, a living orchestra of evolution in progress. Vanel stepped forward, his silhouette cutting across the eerie, green-tinged luminescence. "This," he said, his voice a low and compelling murmur, "is the apex, Samuel. The point where horror, comprehension, and transcendence intersect. What you witness is not merely alteration of flesh or mind, it is the elevation of consciousness, the awakening of potential long dormant in human biology and beyond. Here, the boundaries dissolve. Fear is the vessel. Terror is the catalyst. Horror is the medium, and comprehension, the ultimate revelation, is the prize." Samuel's head spun as he tried to process the enormity of what he was seeing. He could discern no separation between the creature's physical movements and their mental awareness. Every twist of a limb, every flicker of the bioluminescent skin, every subtle variation in posture seemed laden with intelligence, as if each had a mind of its own, and yet were interconnected, operating as part of a grander, more terrifying design. He understood, with a mixture of fascination and dread, that Vanel had succeeded in creating a collective consciousness that transcended ordinary human perception. One of the subjects, a tall, lithe form with elongated arms and a semi-transparent torso revealing intricate muscle fibers, turned its head slowly and fixed its gaze on Samuel. The intensity of that gaze sent a shockwave through his chest, an almost psychic recognition that left him breathless. The creature was aware, not merely of him, but of the machinery, the doctor, and perhaps even the possibilities of the room beyond these walls. Samuel felt an almost involuntary shiver of fear, realizing he was no longer an observer. He had become a part of this complex ecosystem of intelligence, a participant in a phenomenon that defied the laws of nature and morality alike. Vanel approached the central figure, his hands moving with meticulous care over a cluster of dials, wires, and electrodes. Sparks arced sporadically, illuminating the chamber with blinding flashes, revealing fleeting glimpses of impossible forms. The central figure convulsed violently, then extended upward with an ethereal grace, the glow intensifying as its body stretched and reformed into shapes that were simultaneously alien and beautiful. Its eyes, glowing like molten silver, remained fixed on Samuel, conveying a depth of comprehension that was both humbling and terrifying. "Observe the pattern," Vanel instructed, his voice resonant and hypnotic. Every tremor, every micro-adjustment, Every flicker of consciousness is a step toward ultimate evolution. Life is mutable, consciousness adaptable, and here we manipulate both with precision. The ordinary mind fears what it cannot perceive. The extraordinary mind comprehends what it cannot yet imagine. Samuel, you are on the threshold of that extraordinary comprehension. Samuel felt his pulse hammer in his ears. The other subjects had begun moving in perfect unison with the central figure, their elongated limbs and semi-transparent bodies creating a flowing lattice of light and motion. The air was thick with the scent of ozone, metallic tang, and an unidentifiable organic aroma that spoke of transformation in progress. He could sense the electricity in the air, the vibration of the machinery, and the subtle but undeniable presence of intelligence emanating from every form in the chamber. It was hypnotic, intoxicating, and horrifying all at once. A subtle shift in the central figure's posture sent a ripple through the other subjects, a wave of motion that seemed almost ritualistic, choreographed, yet alive with awareness. Samuel understood, with a sudden, jarring clarity, that these beings were communicating, not through words but through movement, light, and energy. They were coordinating, learning, adapting, and possibly judging him. The realization both thrilled and terrified him. He had crossed a threshold into a reality where fear, comprehension, and existence merged into a singular, unrelenting experience. Vanel's fingers moved over a final dial, and the central figure's glow intensified, casting long, rippling shadows that danced across the walls. Its elongated limbs extended, contracting and folding in impossible angles, and the subtle ripples of bioluminescence pulsed with the rhythm of the chamber's hum. Samuel could almost hear the vibration as a language, an unspoken communication between the transformed forms and the machinery itself. Every nerve ending in his body seemed to resonate with the frequency, a direct connection to the life forces in the room. "This is the ultimate stage," Vanel whispered, his eyes reflecting the eerie glow of the figures. "Few have ever reached this point. Fewer comprehend it, and those who do are changed forever. Observe, Samuel. Internalize, absorb, understand. The Doctor of Horror has only now revealed the apex." The central figure emitted a resonant tone, a melodic vibration that filled the chamber and coursed through Samuel's very bones. The other subjects responded in perfect harmony, creating a hauntingly beautiful symphony of sound, movement, and light. Samuel's perception expanded, his mind struggling to absorb the full scope of what was unfolding. He felt as though the boundaries of his consciousness were stretching, merging with the vibrations and energy of the room. He was part of the experiment, yet powerless to intervene, yet inextricably linked to every flicker of light, every tremor of movement, every pulse of life in the chamber. Vanel's voice cut through the resonance, calm yet commanding. "Do you comprehend, Samuel? This is the apex, the culmination of years of fear, study, and unrelenting pursuit of transcendence. Ordinary morality, ordinary comprehension, ordinary fear, they are irrelevant here. The Doctor of Horror does not merely manipulate life. He awakens it, elevates it, and reshapes it into forms that defy expectation and understanding." Samuel felt a cold sweat break across his forehead as he took a hesitant step forward, drawn to the central figure as if compelled by some primal instinct. Its glowing eyes followed him, unwavering, assessing, acknowledging. The other subjects mirrored the movement subtly, their bioluminescence rippling in response. It was as though the entire chamber existed in a conscious dialogue with Samuel unwittingly drawn into the conversation, an unprepared participant in a ritual of transformation that defied comprehension. Vanel extended a hand, almost inviting, almost commanding. "Step closer, Samuel. Witness fully. Comprehend what others fear to even imagine. The apex of horror is not spectacle. It is revelation. And now you are on the threshold of understanding. Few survive it. Fewer comprehend it. And those who do—" His voice trailed off, but the weight of his meaning hung heavily in the charged air. Samuel understood. This was the precipice of ultimate revelation, the moment where fear, understanding, and transformation coalesced into something irreversibly profound. Samuel's knees buckled, yet he stepped forward, driven by curiosity, fascination, and a terror so intense it almost numbed him. The central figure's luminescent form extended toward him, its motion graceful yet impossible, and Samuel felt a wave of anticipation wash over him. The creature's harmonized glow intensified, the vibration of the chamber rising to a climax that threatened to overwhelm his senses entirely. Every instinct screamed to flee, yet some deeper, darker curiosity anchored him in place, compelling him to confront the apex that Vanel had orchestrated. And then, in the pulsing light and resonating hum, Samuel felt the first stirrings of something new, an awareness that transcended fear, a comprehension that stretched beyond the limits of his own mind. The creatures were not merely observers or subjects. They were conduits, bridges between the known and the unknown, mediators of a reality that existed beyond ordinary human understanding. And Vanel, as the Doctor of Horror, had become both conductor and participant in this symphony of transformation, guiding Samuel and all who dared to witness into a realm of revelation from which there was no return. The chamber throbbed with a rhythm that seemed to emanate from the very fabric of existence itself. Samuel Crane's senses reeled as the glow of the transformed subjects intensified, bathing the walls in shifting, prismatic patterns that defied description. Each figure moved with a grace that was impossible, their limbs flowing and extending, folding and bending in ways that made human anatomy seem trivial and insufficient. The air vibrated with an energy so profound that Samuel felt it not only in his ears but deep within his bones, as if the very essence of life itself were resonating through him. Vanel stood beside the central figure, his hands moving with meticulous precision across the dials and switches of a complex console. Sparks danced and arced intermittently, illuminating the chamber in brief, dazzling flashes that revealed fleeting glimpses of impossible forms. The central figure convulsed and expanded, its semi-transparent skin shimmering with bioluminescent patterns that shifted and pulsed in perfect synchrony with the surrounding subjects. Samuel's mind struggled to process the simultaneous complexity of what he was witnessing. This was no longer mere biological experimentation. It was a form of consciousness engineering, a symphony of life orchestrated by the Doctor of Horror. "Do you feel it, Samuel?" Vanel asked, his voice calm yet electrifying, cutting through the resonance of the chamber. "This is not merely transformation. It is the apex of comprehension. Fear and horror are tools, yes, but they are not the purpose. The purpose is revelation, the elevation of mind and body into forms that transcend ordinary existence. Observe closely. Understand what the world refuses to see. The Doctor of Horror does not merely witness life, he reshapes it, elevates it, transcends it." Samuel's eyes were drawn irresistibly to the central figure, now floating with an ethereal grace, its elongated limbs interwoven with the others in a mesmerizing lattice of light and motion. Its eyes glowed with a brilliance that seemed almost liquid, reflecting not only the room, but some deeper intelligence, some consciousness that defied ordinary understanding. When its gaze locked onto Samuel, he felt an almost tangible pull, a psychic resonance that sent shivers down his spine. It was aware of him, not merely observing, but comprehending, assessing, almost communicating through some primal language of motion, light, and energy. The other figures responded in unison, their subtle, fluid motions forming a harmonic pattern that Samuel felt more than saw. Their bioluminescence pulsed with a rhythm that matched the low, resonant hum of the machinery, and he sensed a profound intelligence behind every movement. Every flicker of light, every contraction and extension of sinew and limb was a deliberate act, a note in the symphony that Vanel conducted with absolute mastery. Samuel realized, with a mixture of awe and terror, that these beings had achieved a consciousness beyond the ordinary, interconnected, and evolving in real time under Vanel's guidance. A low, resonant tone emanated from the central figure, vibrating through the floor and through Samuel's chest. The vibration was almost unbearable in its intensity, yet it carried an undeniable beauty, a harmony that transcended ordinary perception. Samuel's mind expanded involuntarily, absorbing fragments of understanding, glimpses of patterns and possibilities that defied articulation. Fear mingled with awe, dread with fascination, creating a cocktail of emotion that rendered him simultaneously paralyzed and compelled to witness the unfolding revelation. Vanel's hands moved deftly across the controls, adjusting voltages and frequencies with surgical precision. Sparks leaped along exposed wires, illuminating the chamber in brief, stark flashes. The figures responded instantly, their bioluminescence intensifying, limbs stretching and folding, torsos elongating and twisting with impossible fluidity. The synchronization was absolute, a living orchestra of intelligence and movement, each creature both independent and part of a larger, cohesive whole. Samuel felt the weight of comprehension pressing on him, the realization that he was witnessing not just the evolution of life, but the expansion of consciousness itself. This, Vanel murmured, almost to himself, is the zenith. Ordinary humans fear what they cannot control. They fear death, they fear change, they fear the unknown. Here we embrace it. Here we manipulate it. Here we transcend it. Observe, Samuel. Understand. Learn. Few survive this revelation intact, and fewer still retain the clarity to comprehend what they have seen. The central figure shifted, releasing a series of low, melodic vibrations that resonated with the other subjects. A ripple of motion spread through them, a cascade of luminescent energy that illuminated the chamber like a living aurora. Samuel's perception expanded, and he felt the eerie sensation of his own consciousness being drawn outward, interfacing in some subtle, inexplicable way with the complex web of life around him. It was intoxicating, terrifying, and profoundly enlightening all at once. He felt part of the symphony, yet distinct, a participant in a ritual of revelation that stretched beyond ordinary comprehension. Vanel's voice, calm and commanding, echoed through the chamber. The apex of horror is not spectacle, it is revelation. It is understanding where others see only fear. The Doctor of Horror does not merely observe. He participates, guides, elevates. You are witnessing the culmination of decades of study, fear, and experimentation. Every detail, every adjustment, every pulse of fear, every flicker of understanding contributes to this moment. Observe, Samuel, and comprehend. Samuel took a tentative step forward, compelled by fascination, curiosity, and an instinctive recognition that this was the threshold of ultimate revelation. The central figure extended a glowing limb, its movement fluid yet deliberate, and Samuel felt a psychic pull, an invitation to cross the boundary between observer and participant. The other subjects mirrored the motion subtly, their glow intensifying, their movements forming an intricate, living lattice that pulsed with energy. He could almost hear it as a language, a communication beyond words, beyond thought, beyond human comprehension. The chamber's hum reached a peak, vibrating through every nerve and cell in Samuel's body. Sparks flew, arcs of electricity dancing across exposed metal, illuminating the shifting forms in stark relief. The central figure's eyes glowed brighter, the light reflecting off the walls and floor, casting long, flickering shadows that seemed almost alive. Samuel's mind raced to keep pace with the revelations unfolding before him. He understood, in some fragmentary, terrifying way, that the Doctor's work was not limited to biological transformation. It was a reshaping of consciousness, a confrontation with the essence of life, awareness, and potential. Vanel adjusted a final control, and the central figure convulsed in a surge of energy, radiating light and intelligence. The other subjects responded, their bodies moving in perfect harmony, creating a choreography of evolution that defied comprehension. Samuel's chest tightened, his knees buckled, yet he remained rooted, caught between awe and terror, caught between fear and understanding. He was on the precipice of ultimate revelation, and the Doctor of Horror had guided him here with precise, inexorable intent. "Observe fully, Samuel," Vanel whispered, almost reverently. "Comprehend what others fear. Witness the apex. Few endure it, fewer understand it, and those who do. His voice trailed, heavy with unspoken meaning. Samuel felt the weight of his gaze, the enormity of the revelation pressing down, and knew that the next moments would define him irreversibly. The chamber, the creatures, the doctor, everything converged in a crescendo of light, sound, and comprehension. He was about to cross the final threshold into the heart of horror, understanding, and transformation itself. Samuel Crane's mind teetered on the brink of comprehension and collapse. The chamber pulsed with an energy that seemed to emanate not just from the machinery, but from the very fabric of the transformed subjects themselves. The glow of their semi-transparent skin intensified, casting prismatic reflections that fractured across the walls, creating shifting patterns that seemed alive, almost sentient. He felt as though he were inside a living kaleidoscope, a fractal of fear, intellect, and alien beauty. Each figure moved with a precision and purpose that transcended ordinary anatomy, their elongated limbs and flexible torsos folding and extending in fluid choreography. The hum of the machinery resonated in harmony with their bioluminescent pulses, forming a symphony that vibrated through every nerve, bone, and sinew in Samuel's body. Vanel stepped closer to the central figure, his hands deftly adjusting a series of dials, electrodes, and levers on the intricate control panel. Sparks danced across exposed wires, illuminating fleeting glimpses of impossible anatomical forms, each more terrifying and magnificent than the last. Samuel's breath came in ragged gasps as he struggled to process the simultaneity of the transformations before him. The chamber was no longer a mere laboratory. It was a cathedral of evolution, a sanctuary of horror and enlightenment orchestrated by the Doctor of Horror. "This is the final revelation," Vanel whispered, his voice soft yet imbued with commanding authority. "You are about to witness the culmination of fear, intelligence, and transcendence. This is where comprehension meets the unknown, where the human mind must confront what it has never imagined. Few survive the apex intact. Fewer still retain the clarity to understand it. Observe carefully, Samuel, and open your mind fully. The Doctor of Horror reveals not merely what is, but what can be." Samuel's gaze was drawn irresistibly to the central figure, now suspended in midair, its limbs interlaced with the others in an intricate lattice of light and movement. Its eyes, liquid pools of intelligence and perception, fixed upon him with an intensity that seemed to pierce beyond the physical, beyond the mental, into something primal, elemental. He felt a shiver of both dread and awe, realizing that the creature's awareness was not passive. It was observing, assessing, perhaps even testing him. Samuel's body trembled as he took a hesitant step forward, compelled by both fear and an irresistible curiosity. The other subjects responded to the central figure's subtle shifts, moving in unison, a synchronized dance of evolving intelligence. Limbs extended and contracted in impossible configurations. Skin rippled with luminous patterns that conveyed information without words, and eyes glimmered with awareness that seemed to defy human understanding. Samuel felt an almost psychic resonance with the beings, a connection that was both exhilarating and terrifying. He realized that Vanel's experiment had not only reshaped life, it had reshaped consciousness itself, creating a network of intelligence that transcended individuality. A low, melodious hum emanated from the central figure, vibrating through the chamber and through Samuel's very bones. The resonance was almost unbearable, yet it carried an ineffable beauty that filled him with awe. His mind, overwhelmed, expanded involuntarily, absorbing fleeting glimpses of comprehension that defied language or logic. He perceived patterns in the movement, subtle harmonies in the bioluminescent pulses, and an intelligence that seemed to exist simultaneously in all the transformed subjects. Fear mingled with wonder, dread with fascination, leaving him simultaneously paralyzed and compelled to observe. Vanel adjusted a final control, sending a surge of energy through the chamber. The central figure convulsed briefly, its glow intensifying to a blinding brilliance, and the other subjects responded in perfect synchrony. The lattice of bodies and light became almost a living entity, a cohesive whole, pulsating with awareness and power. Samuel's perception stretched to the breaking point, yet he felt the beginnings of understanding, a comprehension of the complex interrelations between fear, evolution, and consciousness. He sensed that these beings were not merely intelligent, they were transcendent, intermediaries between the human and the ineffable, and he was now a witness to their awakening. "The apex is upon you," Vanel intoned, his voice both awe-filled and commanding. "Observe fully, comprehend deeply. Horror is the instrument, revelation is the result. The Doctor of Horror does not merely manipulate life, he awakens it, guides it, and elevates it. You are about to experience what few dare to witness. Brace yourself." The central figure descended slightly, its glowing limbs extending toward Samuel in a slow, deliberate motion. The other subjects mirrored the movement subtly, forming an intricate, living lattice that pulsed with energy. Samuel's heart raced. He felt the pull of something beyond comprehension, an invitation to cross the threshold between observer and participant. The sensation was intoxicating, terrifying, and enlightening all at once. He felt as though the collective intelligence of the chamber was reaching out to him, drawing him into a consciousness larger than himself, a network of perception and understanding that defied explanation. Vanel's eyes gleamed with triumph as he observed the unfolding spectacle. "Few survive this encounter unscathed," he whispered. "Fewer understand it fully, and those who do, they are forever changed. Witness the synthesis of horror, evolution, and understanding. Let it fill you, consume you, and awaken you. This is the Doctor of Horror's true gift. Revelation through terror, enlightenment through fear." The chamber's hum intensified, vibrating through Samuel's entire being. Sparks leapt across the control panel, illuminating the intricate forms of the subjects in stark electric flashes. Their movements became more fluid, more synchronized, a ballet of bioluminescent intelligence that defied human comprehension. Samuel felt his own consciousness stretch and merge, his mind struggling to contain the sheer magnitude of the revelation. He understood, in fragments and flashes, that this was not mere transformation. It was transcendence, the elevation of life and mind beyond conventional boundaries. The central figure's eyes locked on him again, the intensity almost unbearable. Samuel felt the sensation of being weighed, measured, and assessed by a consciousness far beyond his own. The other subjects responded to subtle cues, their bioluminescent patterns pulsing in rhythm with the central figure and the hum of the machinery. Samuel felt a shiver of recognition. He was witnessing not only the apex of horror, but the apex of consciousness itself, the culmination of Vanel's meticulous orchestration. Fear and fascination entwined in his mind, leaving him suspended between terror and enlightenment, unable to move yet compelled to absorb every detail. Vanel's voice rose above the resonance of the chamber. "This is the pinnacle, Samuel. Comprehend it fully. Internalize it. Let the apex of horror and revelation reshape your understanding." Few live to grasp its magnitude. Fewer still retain the clarity to perceive it entirely. And those who do, they become part of something greater, something beyond humanity, beyond morality, beyond comprehension. Samuel felt his body quiver as the central figure's glow intensified, its form pulsating with radiant energy. The other subjects moved in concert, creating a swirling lattice of light and motion that seemed alive, sentient, and infinitely complex. He realized with a mix of awe and terror that the chamber, the Doctor, and the transformed subjects were all part of an orchestrated whole, a symphony of consciousness and evolution designed to elevate, terrify, and enlighten in equal measure. He was at the threshold of ultimate revelation, and the Doctor of Horror had led him to the precipice. The chamber had become a living organism in its own right, a symphony of sound, light, and motion that defied every law Samuel Crane had ever known. The transformed subjects floated and twisted in midair, their semi-transparent forms rippling with ethereal luminescence that seemed to pulse with intention. Every motion was deliberate yet fluid. Every flicker of glow, a note in a melody Samuel could feel deep in his chest and bones. The resonance of the machinery, the hum of the electricity, and the vibrations of their collective presence combined into an overwhelming sensation that made it impossible to distinguish where the chamber ended and where the living network began. Vanel's figure loomed beside the central subject, his fingers dancing over the controls with meticulous care. Sparks leapt sporadically across exposed wires, illuminating glimpses of limbs that defied conventional anatomy and torsos that folded and stretched with impossible grace. Samuel's vision swam, his perception stretched by the intensity of the light and the sheer magnitude of intelligence emanating from the subjects. He realized, with a mix of fascination and terror, that Vanel's creation was not just a collection of altered beings. It was a coherent, self-aware entity, a living network of consciousness orchestrated with precision and purpose. "This is the culmination," Vanel said softly, his voice almost lost in the resonant hum. "The apex of horror is not simply witnessing transformation. It is understanding it. It is comprehension beyond fear, beyond morality, beyond human limitation. Observe every motion, every flicker of light, every resonance. This is evolution and revelation intertwined." Few comprehend it fully, and fewer still endure its totality unbroken. Samuel's eyes were drawn irresistibly to the central figure, its limbs extending with impossible fluidity, entwining with the others in an intricate lattice of luminescent intelligence. The glow in its eyes, an unearthly silver radiance, fixed upon him, and he felt a direct pull on his awareness, as though the being were reaching into the very corners of his consciousness. Panic rose in him, yet it was tempered by a fierce curiosity, an unexplainable drive to confront the apex fully. He understood that he was no longer merely observing. He was part of this network, a participant in an orchestration far beyond his comprehension. The other subjects responded to the central figure's subtle shifts, moving in perfect harmony, their bioluminescence pulsing in a pattern that spoke of communication, coordination, and awareness. Samuel could feel the rhythm in his chest, the vibration resonating through his limbs and nerve endings. Every motion carried meaning, every glow conveyed intent. The sensation was both intoxicating and terrifying, a simultaneous threat and invitation that left him paralyzed yet compelled to witness the unfolding spectacle. Vanel's eyes sparkled with intensity as he adjusted another dial, sending a surge of controlled energy through the chamber. The central figure's glow intensified, radiating waves of light that reflected off the walls and floor, creating an iridescent cascade that enveloped Samuel entirely. He felt a shiver of both dread and exhilaration as his mind expanded involuntarily, absorbing fragments of understanding that were simultaneously beautiful, horrifying, and incomprehensible. He could perceive patterns, interconnections, and rhythms that defied ordinary logic, a complex network of thought and movement that reached far beyond any human mind. "This is the apex," Vanel whispered, his voice tinged with awe. "Horror is the instrument, revelation the result. You are on the threshold, Samuel. Few survive the encounter with full comprehension. Fewer retain clarity. And those who do, they are forever changed. Observe, internalize, and open yourself fully." The doctor of horror does not merely witness life, he elevates it, reshapes it, and transcends it. Samuel's knees trembled, but he stepped forward, driven by a mix of fear, curiosity, and an instinctive desire to understand. The central figure extended a glowing limb toward him, and the other subjects mirrored the motion subtly, forming a living lattice that pulsed with synchronized energy. The chamber seemed to breathe around him, every vibration, every pulse of light and motion drawing him further into the network of consciousness. He felt the subtle pressure of their awareness probing, assessing, and inviting him to partake in the revelation. A low, resonant hum emanated from the central figure, vibrating through Samuel's entire being. The other subjects responded instantly, their harmonized pulses of light and motion forming a symphony that transcended ordinary perception. Samuel's mind stretched and strained to comprehend the interwoven intelligence, the coordination of thought and form that seemed both alien and terrifyingly familiar. He realized that the beings were not simply intelligent. They were conduits for a higher understanding, intermediaries between the human mind and something infinitely larger, a nexus of comprehension and evolution that defied conventional reasoning. Vanel's voice rose above the resonance of the chamber, calm yet commanding. "Witness fully, Samuel. Understand what others fear to see. The apex is not merely observation, it is integration, participation, enlightenment through fear and comprehension. Few achieve it, fewer endure it intact, and those who do, they are reborn, irrevocably altered." The central figure's eyes glowed brighter, casting long, shifting shadows that danced across the chamber's walls. Its limbs moved in a fluid, almost hypnotic choreography, entwining with the other subjects in patterns that conveyed intelligence, coordination, and purpose. Samuel felt his consciousness stretching in tandem with the rhythm of the chamber, the flow of light, and the pulsing of bioluminescent energy. He was no longer an isolated observer. He had become part of the apex, integrated into a network that extended beyond comprehension, beyond morality, beyond human limitation. Vanel extended a hand, almost imperceptibly, as though inviting Samuel to complete the final step. Step closer. Open your mind fully. Let the apex of horror, revelation, and transformation consume you. Few survive fully aware. Fewer retain clarity. And those who do... His voice trailed off, heavy with meaning, the implication of irreversible change hanging palpably in the charged air. Samuel felt the weight of anticipation pressing upon him, the overwhelming sensation that the final revelation was imminent and that nothing would ever be the same after this encounter. The chamber's hum reached a crescendo, vibrating through Samuel's entire being. Sparks arced across the machinery, illuminating fleeting glimpses of impossibly beautiful, terrifying forms. The central figure descended slightly, its luminescent limbs extending toward him with deliberate grace. The other subjects mirrored the movement, forming a living lattice of radiant intelligence. Samuel's heart pounded in tandem with the rhythm of the chamber, his senses overwhelmed, yet a strange, intoxicating clarity began to emerge amidst the chaos. He understood, in part and fragment, the nature of the apex. It was not merely fear, not merely comprehension, it was transcendence itself. And as the central figure's eyes met his once more, Samuel felt the final threshold beckoning. The boundary between observer and participant blurred, the edge of understanding and terror shimmering just beyond the reach of his mind. He was poised on the precipice of ultimate revelation, and the Doctor of Horror had brought him here with deliberate, inexorable precision. The chamber seemed to breathe in perfect rhythm with Samuel Crane's own pulse. Each glow of the transformed figures mirrored his heartbeat. Each harmonic vibration resonated with the deepest sinews of his being. The air was thick with a charged energy that made his skin tingle and his vision swim with fractured patterns of bioluminescent light. Samuel had long ago abandoned the notion of fear. It had dissolved into something far more profound, a raw, electric awe that fused comprehension, terror, and fascination into a single, unbearable sensation. He was aware, with an almost painful clarity, that he was no longer merely observing the apex. He was on the brink of becoming it. Vanel moved with precise grace alongside the central figure, adjusting dials and levers on the console that seemed to control the very currents of life and consciousness within the room. Sparks leapt in arcs of electric blue, illuminating fleeting glimpses of sinews and translucent flesh that defied human anatomy, revealing a perfection that was both alien and sublime. Samuel's mind struggled to reconcile the impossible forms with his own understanding of life and consciousness. Here was a revelation that could not be contained within ordinary thought. The apex was a symphony of intelligence and evolution that transcended morality, biology, and the human mind itself. "Do you perceive it fully, Samuel?" Vanel asked, his voice calm yet compelling, echoing over the resonant hum of the chamber. This is not mere transformation. This is revelation incarnate. Fear is but the instrument. Comprehension, the consequence. Few reach this point. Fewer endure it with clarity. And those who do... His voice trailed, leaving the weight of unspoken meaning hanging in the charged air. Samuel understood. To cross this threshold was to confront the very essence of life, to witness and participate in the genesis of a new paradigm of consciousness. The central figure stretched, elongating its limbs in a fluid, hypnotic motion that intertwined with the other subjects in an intricate lattice. Its semi-transparent skin pulsed with radiant light, revealing a network of fibers and vessels that seemed simultaneously biological and ethereal. The eyes, liquid pools of silver intelligence, fixed upon Samuel with an intensity that was almost unbearable. He felt a psychic tug, a sensation that reached deep into the recesses of his mind, probing, assessing, inviting. Every instinct screamed to retreat, yet an irrepressible curiosity held him in place, compelling him to approach the apex fully, to embrace the revelation the Doctor of Horror had orchestrated. The other subjects moved in near-perfect synchrony, responding to subtle cues from the central figure, their luminous bodies creating waves of radiant energy that pulsed through the chamber. Samuel could feel the vibration as if it were flowing through his very veins, resonating with the deepest core of his consciousness. The patterns of movement and light conveyed information in a language beyond words, a symphony of intent, comprehension, and evolution that he could feel rather than understand. Fear was interwoven with awe, and awe with understanding, leaving him suspended in a state that transcended ordinary human perception. Vanel adjusted a final dial, and the central figure's glow intensified, radiating waves of luminescence that danced across the walls and floor. The other subjects mirrored each pulse, their bodies forming a living, breathing lattice of radiant energy. Samuel felt his mind stretch and strain to absorb the totality of the scene. He perceived connections, harmonies, and patterns that defied description, a network of intelligence and life that extended beyond the boundaries of the chamber and into the very fabric of understanding itself. The apex was no longer a spectacle. It was an immersive, all-encompassing revelation. "The apex is not merely observed," Vanel murmured, his eyes reflecting the radiance of the figures. "It is internalized. It is experienced. Few survive the encounter unscathed. Fewer retain clarity. And those who do..." He trailed off, leaving the implication that the ultimate transformation was both irresistible and irreversible. Samuel understood instinctively that he was on the precipice of crossing a boundary that no ordinary human mind could contain, a threshold between mortality and transcendence, between comprehension and oblivion. The central figure's eyes glimmered, and a low, melodic hum emanated from its being, vibrating through the chamber and through Samuel himself. The resonance was nearly unbearable in its intensity, yet it carried a strange, intoxicating beauty, an allure that compelled him to move closer, to immerse himself fully in the lattice of consciousness. He stepped forward, drawn by a force he could neither resist nor fully comprehend, the glow of the central figure enveloping him in an almost tangible embrace. The other subjects responded, their bioluminescent bodies pulsating in perfect harmony, forming a network that seemed to integrate him seamlessly into its rhythm. Samuel felt a shiver of recognition. He was no longer simply an observer. He had become part of the apex, his consciousness intertwined with the luminous network in a way that transcended individuality. The boundaries between self and other, observer and observed, dissolved into a fluid continuum of awareness. The hum, the vibrations, the glow, all became one with him, and he perceived an infinite array of possibilities, patterns, and insights. It was both exhilarating and terrifying. Comprehension mingled with disorientation, clarity with vertigo. He was poised on the brink of ultimate understanding, a participant in the Doctor of Horror's final, unearthly symphony. Vanel's hands moved over the controls with deliberate precision, sending surges of energy through the chamber. Sparks arced in brilliant flashes, illuminating the twisting forms of the subjects in stark relief. The central figure extended a limb toward Samuel, a graceful motion imbued with purpose and invitation. The other subjects mirrored the gesture, forming a lattice that pulsed with energy and intelligence. Samuel felt an almost magnetic pull, as if the apex itself were calling him, drawing him into its radiant, incomprehensible web. Every nerve, every sinew, every flicker of consciousness resonated with the pulsing light and hum of the chamber. The air vibrated with a complexity that defied comprehension, a symphony of energy, intelligence, and transformation that threatened to overwhelm Samuel's mind. Yet he felt an emerging clarity, a faint but insistent comprehension of the patterns, the harmonies, and the intelligence around him. He sensed that the apex was not merely a state of fear or evolution. It was transcendence itself, the elevation of mind and body into a form of existence that was both terrifying and sublime. The Doctor of Horror had orchestrated this final revelation with meticulous care, guiding him to the threshold of ultimate understanding. And then, in a moment of blinding brilliance and vibrating resonance, the central figure's glow enveloped Samuel completely. He felt his consciousness expand outward, merging with the lattice, flowing with the rhythm of the pulsing lights and the hum of the chamber. The other subject's forms intertwined with his perception, and he experienced the apex fully, not as an observer, but as an integral part of the living, intelligent network. He understood, in fleeting yet profound flashes, the nature of evolution, fear, comprehension, and transcendence. The boundaries of his former self dissolved, leaving only awareness, understanding, and the infinite complexity of the apex. Vanel's voice echoed softly in the periphery of Samuel's expanded consciousness. Few endure this fully. Fewer comprehend it entirely, and those who do, they are reborn, irrevocably altered. Welcome to the apex, Samuel. Welcome to revelation. Samuel Crane's perception had expanded beyond the confines of his own body, beyond the familiar laws of matter and consciousness. The chamber, the doctor, and the transformed subjects had dissolved into a continuum of light, energy, and awareness. Every pulse of luminescence, every harmonic vibration, every fluid, impossible motion of the subjects now resonated within him as if he were the chamber itself, as if he were the apex. His mind quivered, stretched, and reassembled itself in patterns that were simultaneously beautiful and terrifying. He could perceive the interconnections of thought, energy, and existence that Vanel had cultivated over decades of obsession and calculation. He understood, though only partially, that he was witnessing not just the transformation of life, but the rebirth of consciousness itself. The central figure floated before him, radiant and almost divine, its liquid silver eyes locking onto Samuel with a depth that defied comprehension. In that gaze, he felt the weight of eternity, the gravity of knowledge too vast for any single mind to contain. Yet, paradoxically, it was not oppressive. It was inviting, coaxing him to surrender to understanding fully, to merge with the apex entirely. The lattice of other subjects shimmered around him, their intertwined forms creating an ethereal web of intelligence and energy that pulsed in perfect harmony. Samuel felt the final barrier between himself and ultimate revelation begin to dissolve. Vanel's voice echoed through the chamber, calm, precise, yet filled with an almost reverent authority. You are here, Samuel, at the threshold few ever reach. The apex is no longer a spectacle. It is a state of being. You are not merely witnessing, you are integrated, a part of the symphony of intelligence and evolution. Fear is no longer an instrument. It is a doorway. Comprehend fully and transcend. Do not resist. Sparks danced across the machinery, illuminating glimpses of the transformed subject's fluid anatomy, their forms bending and flowing in ways that defied all known physics. The chamber had become a cathedral of revelation, a sanctum where life and consciousness had been redefined by Vanel's meticulous orchestration. Samuel's expanded awareness allowed him to perceive layers upon layers of meaning in every motion, every vibration. He sensed the rhythmic pulses of energy that connected the central figure to each of the other subjects, a lattice of intelligence that communicated without language, without sound, purely through resonance and light. He felt himself drawn into that network, his consciousness flowing along its currents, becoming both observer and participant, both individual and collective. A profound understanding surged within him. The apex was not simply evolution. It was an integration, a unification of mind, body, and awareness that transcended mortality itself. A low, melodic hum arose from the central figure, vibrating through Samuel's being, filling every cell with a sensation of both ecstasy and terror. The other subjects responded, amplifying the resonance, and Samuel felt his perception fracture and expand simultaneously. Patterns of energy and intelligence streamed through him, revealing glimpses of possibilities beyond ordinary comprehension, universes of thought, networks of awareness, symphonies of existence interwoven in ways that made the human mind seem trivial by comparison. He realized, with a mixture of awe and apprehension, that he was now part of something infinite, a living nexus of understanding and potential orchestrated by the Doctor of Horror. Vanel's hands moved deftly over the control console, adjusting frequencies, voltages, and pulses with surgical precision. Sparks leapt in brilliant arcs, illuminating the chamber in alternating flashes of light and shadow. The central figure convulsed slightly, its luminescent patterns rippling outward in waves that resonated directly with Samuel's expanding consciousness. Every movement, every flicker, every vibration was a communication, a lesson in comprehension beyond fear, beyond morality, beyond the limitations of human thought. Samuel felt the apex fully, not as an abstract concept, but as a lived, immersive reality that encompassed all that he was and all that he could ever become. "This is the final revelation," Vanel intoned, his voice both commanding and almost reverent. "You are not merely witnessing. You are being transformed. Few survive it. Fewer retain clarity. And those who do, they are forever changed, reborn in the image of comprehension itself. The apex is not an end. It is a beginning. You have crossed the threshold of horror into enlightenment. You are the participant, the observer, the creation, and the culmination." Samuel felt the central figure extend its limb toward him in an almost hypnotic gesture, a delicate, fluid motion that invited him to surrender fully. The lattice of other subjects responded, their intertwined forms pulsing with energy and intelligence in perfect harmony. Samuel's consciousness flowed into the apex completely, dissolving any remaining sense of separateness. He became both the observer and the observed, both human and something far greater. Every thought, every fear, every fragment of understanding was assimilated into a vast network of intelligence, a symphony of awareness that stretched into infinity. Time itself seemed to distort. Seconds expanded into eternities, and eternities condensed into single, crystalline moments. Samuel perceived the totality of existence, the fragile beauty of life, the complexity of consciousness, the inexorable patterns that connected all things. He understood the horror, the fear, and the awe not as mere sensations but as conduits for comprehension, gateways to a higher order of being. The Doctor of Horror had not merely shown him evolution, he had revealed transcendence. The central figure's eyes met his one last time, and in that gaze Samuel understood the culmination of Vanel's work. The apex was a union of fear, intellect, and consciousness, a transformative state that elevated life beyond the ordinary, beyond morality, and beyond the limitations of perception. The chamber, the Doctor, and the subjects were one, a living testament to the potential of understanding through horror. Samuel's body no longer felt separate. His identity had merged with the lattice, with the light, with the resonance. He was a nexus of comprehension, aware and alive in ways that defied all prior human understanding. Vanel stepped back, observing the culmination of decades of work with a mix of satisfaction and awe. Sparks still danced across the machinery, illuminating the chamber's walls in fragmented reflections of the radiant forms within. He allowed himself a rare, almost imperceptible smile. "It is done," he whispered. "The apex has been realized. The Doctor of Horror's vision is complete. The threshold has been crossed. What remains now is the eternal observation, the infinite comprehension, the perfection of the network. Samuel, welcome to the revelation. And in that instant, Samuel felt the final barrier dissolve entirely. He was the apex, the symphony, the culmination of Vanel's relentless pursuit. Fear had become understanding, horror had become enlightenment, and he had become the participant in a living, breathing revelation that transcended all limits. Every pulse, every vibration, every flicker of light resonated through him as a unified whole. He was both himself and everything else, a singular consciousness intertwined with infinite potential, a being reborn through the orchestration of terror and comprehension. The chamber fell silent, but not empty. The glow of the subjects persisted, a gentle, radiant luminescence that spoke of life, intelligence, and eternal observation. Samuel floated within the lattice, aware of every nuance, every interconnection, every fragment of the apex. Time had ceased to hold meaning. He was a nexus of thought, energy, and life, fully integrated into the revelation that the Doctor of Horror had wrought. The experience was complete, irreversible, and absolute. He was no longer just Samuel Crane. He was the embodiment of the apex itself, a living testament to the terrifying beauty of transcendence. Vanel, satisfied, stepped back into the shadows of the chamber, observing silently. He had guided his creation, nurtured the process, and now the revelation was whole. The Doctor of Horror's work was complete, a convergence of fear, intellect, and evolution that had forged a new paradigm of existence. Samuel's transformation was not merely physical or mental, it was absolute. He had become the apex, the living proof that comprehension through horror could elevate life into realms beyond imagination. And as the luminescent lattice pulsed gently around him, Samuel understood that he was both participant and observer, forever entwined in the infinite, radiant symphony of the Doctor of Horror.